entrance. But yeah, I'm going out of town and stuff like that. So
I mean, are you going to see somebody, or is this just like it's a work
it's just
trip?
like a cabin retreat type deal.
Ooh, man, I've never done one of those. How relaxing is it?
I'll tell you when I get there.
Oh, you've never done one either? Okay.
No, I never done one either. So
Okay.
this is my first time doing it.
Is this like gonna be like so far out there you'll have no internet
N-
at all? Like no
No, no,
internet?
no, no, no. It's only like 45 minutes outside of
Okay.
town.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanna like go I wanna go on a vacation someday where I go to a log cabin in the middle of the woods and there's no internet and there's no like television and I just chilling for like a week, just chilling in
Yeah,
the
it's like
woods.
bring a couple books and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
bring some books. Yeah, just do some like go fish or something, explore around. Yeah, that sounds really fun.
You can do that. They have like campgrounds like that
Hmm.
where they're called it's like a glamp type camping where you can rent out a trailer. So
Yeah.
it's your choice to rent out a trailer for like Wi-Fi and everything like that.
Mm,
Um, just in case like you go with your wife and she's not really into that. She wants some kind of civilization or whatever, and you don't. You can kind of separate the two,
but
but
Montreal, the
um,
temptation. I mean, if you even have the temptation, you're just gonna take it, right?
I'll be honest. When I went out to Missouri 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was snowing and everything. Now I'll never forget it because like the mountains were covered in snow and everything, or like not mountains, but they have like really really tall hills. It was covered in snow and everything with the pine woods and everything, and we were out there, and we were out in this small ass town called Branson. It's not small, but it is small
Hmm.
compared to like other cities. Um, yeah, I was out there and they had internet, they had full access to everything, and I completely shut down. And I was just like staring off in the woods in my this little hotel slash cabin area they had for us.
Hmm.
It was pretty dope. Yeah, and I just completely shut down and yeah, like Deanna was in the fucking like they had this huge jet tub, bathtub and shit. And like I was just chilling. I had a fire going and everything. It was like pretty dope. So
No, man. Yeah, no. The reason it's appealing, right, for me is like I took a new position at my job like 4 or 5 months ago now, and I'm a manager at this point, and I'm the manager of bunch of support teams for technology. So if you've
yeah.
ever worked in support, which you know this, but if you've ever worked in support, like as a technician, you're usually on call every once in a while, like it's on a rotation usually. But
Yep.
when you get to the point of being a manager, like every issue is your problem now. Like you have to care about every single issue that happens. So what that means for me is that I am essentially like glued to my fucking phone. Like any like Teams notification I get or email I get, I will look at my phone and see what it is just to make sure it's not something hot. I'm not like
Hmm.
actually opening it and reading every email, but I'll just read like the title or whatever just to make sure it's not something I need to like go look at. And it
Yeah.
is it's to the point that it's like it really started to eat away at me. Like it's like the idea of being able to put my phone away and not look at it for like 7 to 9 days in a chunk sounds like the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. Because
Yeah.
I fucking hate my phone now. I'm so sick of it, dude. Like I just yeah.
I'm in the exact same way. I'm not a manager, but my company, while it's relatively lucrative and they make a lot of money because they're construction,
Hmm.
but they're a small company, but they're like
Right.
one of the top construction companies in Texas or whatever.
Hmm.
So they have a lot of needs or a lot of how do I put this? They're very picky and spoiled. That's the word. Electronically spoiled. So they can get anything they want to, like right then. Like if they want to
Hmm.
order something, even the people that work there, or whatever.
Hmm.
So like all the project managers have fucking iPads, like the latest greatest iPad that the company paid for and everything like that. But which I don't mind or whatever. The problem is, it's like, since I'm the only person controlling the entire Dallas area,
Hmm.
all the job sites, like when there's a support issue, come
Yeah.
to me.
Right.
So I have to manage all that, and I literally hate when my phone rings and it's like a Texas number that I don't know, and I'm like, oh I know it's somebody
Yeah.
it's a ticket or something, or a job site went down or something like that. Um, I say the one redeeming quality is sometimes the job sites are sometimes they're like right in the middle of Dallas or whatever,
Mm,
and that's cool. But sometimes they're like way out, like maybe 45 minutes to an hour out. And I
mhm,
had one job site that was like 3 hours out. So I'm driving and I get to see like Texas, like the greater DFW area outside the Metroplex. And like you see all this open field and it's just like calm and peaceful.
mhm.
So that gave me the idea to just like rent a cabin out there and just like fucking do it. Like just go out there and just chill for like at least 2 days where I'm probably gonna have limited internet access and shit like that
Yeah.
and just chill out. So
Bring a couple
um
books.
yeah, because even 45 minutes outside town, believe it or not, will severely cut like your internet
Oh yeah.
options. You know?
Yeah, I mean, dude,
So
you drive. I drive like 10 or 15 minutes away from where I live in the right direction, and I'm in farmland. Like
exactly.
it's really weird, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's just like, dude, the idea that I can unplug, even if that means I'm not playing games for a week. I honestly at this point don't care. Because when my phone rings, like my like I'm like I'm gonna have like PTSD when I get into a job that doesn't require me to be this way, where my phone's
Hmm.
gonna ring and I'm gonna be like, oh God, no. It's like, please God, like don't be something I need to look at. It's like my wife calls me sometimes and I'm like, I get like my brain instantly goes, oh my God, is this fucking work? And it's not, but I get like really angry
Hmm.
for a second, and it's like, it's just it's yeah. It,
Yeah,
I,
I noticed myself doing the same thing. I
yeah.
just at the end of the day, I've been you have an iPhone too, so I think well, you can't really do it though. Like for me, I'm not really on call. I am on call, but like everything shuts down at 5 o'clock. Like all
Yeah.
the construction workers are gone and everything. So I put my phone on do not disturb, and I don't get no calls or anything like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I can't do that.
um,
Dude,
yeah,
like,
you can't do that. Yeah,
I fucking like over Thanksgiving break on my birthday, we had a major fucking incident that I had to be on a call on for like 3 or 4 hours. It was, it's that kind of
on your
shit.
birthday.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just
Wow.
it is what it is. It comes with the territory. I just like what I will tell you is if you want to have some semblance of like free time that is uninterrupted, like yeah, don't get into technology support.
Yeah.
You are everyone's bitch. Like straight up, and you will not be able to avoid that. So, but I mean, I don't hate what I do. I just someday I don't want to be doing this anymore, though. That's for damn sure. So,
Yep. Same.
which that's why we do this show.
I'll say one more thing. I never thought. You ever thought when you were younger, right, and
Hmm.
you watch TV shows or you hear people like, yeah, I'm going out way out into the country. I'm just shutting everything down and turning everything off. And it's like, when I was younger, I used to be like, man, that's boring as hell. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You can't do anything. But
Right.
now that shit sounds so appealing.
Well, I think it's just, dude. It comes with experience, right, and age. Like as you experience more of the world, you realize how just like connected everything is all the time. Like you cannot
Hmm.
get away from it. It's like even if you put your phone on do not disturb, like dude, you probably still pick it up and like look at Twitter and stuff though, right? It's like and even if you
Or
don't,
even I say now I got out that habit and I'm doing really good not getting on Twitter. But I
okay.
do look at my phone for like the group chat that we're in. Like I have that separated from my do not
Mm,
disturb when y'all text. Like
mhm.
I can see if y'all say like I'm in Discord or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'll hop in with y'all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I don't know. It's it like you can do it. It's just you have to really go out of your way to do it. And
hmm.
I think doing that physically is more effective than anything.
Yeah.
Go to a place where you literally cannot interact with society because there's no internet. you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's interesting. I love the time period we live in for many reasons. Like, I mean, I do love the internet. I love what it gives us, and I love video games and technology and all this stuff. But part of me does wonder if it like were people happier in like the like late 1800s, or even the early like fucking 1900s, before we even had telephones. It's like, were you happier then because you kind of just lived? There's none like if you had a job, like you couldn't get a call. Like people wouldn't be able to call you if something happened. Like they literally have to come to your house and like grab you, you know? It's like which maybe that sucks. I'm sure that did suck for some people, but it's like it's not as immediate though. It's not a kind of thing where it's like because by the time they come and get you, the thing that's happening is probably already over or resolved or for the most part, you're not like in the moment. Whereas now it's like if something happens, dude, I know like immediately, like almost within 30 minutes, I know, you know, and it's
Well,
like,
I was I was thinking like people that lived out there and even like the 1700s, the 16 or the 1300s or some shit, right?
mhm,
Like if you had the skills, you can just go out in the middle of the field, build you a fucking house, make you some crops somewhere, and you're golden. Like you're good. You know what I'm
you
saying?
just living
Like
the
I mean, of
life,
course
man.
you probably gotta worry about raiders, but like if you're in the middle of the field, like no one's gonna fuck with you. Like no one like no one's gonna even know you're there unless they just randomly come across you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, right. If you had skills though, like if you were a skilled like hunter and you knew how to like build a cabin, you could literally just go into a random forest and build yourself a house and live off the land, you know? Like
Yep.
literally never interact with anybody, you know? It's interesting. I mean, you could do that now, but we're just not built like that anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't just go build yourself a house somewhere, you know? Like
Yeah.
like that's not legal, you know? So everybody owns everything, you know. Somebody owns anything that you could go look at. Any piece of land that you're looking at, somebody fucking owns it. So, um yeah, I don't know. I mean, someday someday we'll be hopefully Montreal we'll both be in a position where we have either we have jobs that don't constantly stress us out or you know we'll be doing something that doesn't require that we really enjoy doing, you know, that even if we do have to do shit, you know, outside of what our working hours would be, um
Hmm.
we don't care because we, you know, we love our jobs. So I don't know, get there someday, get there someday. All right, Montreal, no fucking around. Hi everybody, this is Player's Take, episode 157. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. As you can tell, we're both a little tired from work, I think. You know, as per usual, it's really not that much of a new thing. But Montrell, so let's start the gaming talk. Cyberpunk basically stealth dropped, I mean, as stealthily as they could possibly drop it. Their current gen upgrade for PS5 and Xbox Series X for Cyberpunk, and apparently huge overhaul of the game came with this as well. Are you interested in going back?
um, I haven't seen the new updates and everything of that nature. So I honestly cannot say if I'm looking forward to going back. Um, I don't know if the story is going to be updated or not. Like
Mm-hmm. I think
that,
some of it
I had
was.
to. Okay, I have to go back and look at the trailers and like look at some gameplay and stuff like that. Before I can even say, like, give it a fair chance of saying like no or yes or whatever. Um, I mean, I might go back to it if the price drops. I'm not paying like $60 for this game. I
Yeah,
know that, like outright.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I have it. It's on my stack. It's just,
so do you get the free upgrade?
yeah, I do. Yeah. They're
Okay,
giving the upgrade for free from the PS4
okay.
version. But yeah, I'm just I'm not interested right now. I'm just not. I don't know. The thing is, this game is weird because I've seen a lot of screenshots for it this week because people have been talking about it, and I'm gonna be honest, the game just doesn't look aesthetically just doesn't look very appealing. You know, like
Hmm.
I don't know. And maybe that's the cyberpunk styling. Maybe I'm just not a fan of it, but I don't really think that's it. I don't really mind cyberpunk. It's just I just something about this game. Maybe it just doesn't look great to me, or maybe the screenshots I was looking at weren't good. But it's just I'm just not in the mood right now. There's too much other shit to play. New games. This game had its shot and it missed it, and I will get to it at some point, but it will more than likely be. in a few years when the DLCs are all out and the game is fully updated and they leave it behind, you know.
Yeah.
Because at that point the game will be the best it'll ever be, you know. So
Hmm.
I'll probably just wait for that moment, whatever it is, and play the game then. I'm not until then. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not interested unless I have a severe gap in time of game releases, like we kind of did last year. I don't think it's going to happen for me. So
Yeah, I mean I think that's fair. I don't think other people will say that we're being fair towards it. Um, like I
the
said,
thing
I have
is,
to watch
we
more
are being fair
gameplay
towards it,
footage.
though. I'm not being scathing when I'm saying these things. I think my thing is like I said, this game had its shot when it came out, and somebody bought me the game. So like essentially I paid for a copy, you know? Like they got the money, whether it was from me or somebody buying it for me. They got money for my copy. So it's not like it's not like they lost anything in this. Like it's literally me playing the game. Like it's just me spending my time playing the game. So it in terms of being fair, I feel like I'm being plenty fair to it. Like they games don't get they really only get one shot for the most part. And whether that's fair or not, I don't know. This feels like a Final Fantasy 15 situation though. Like it feels very similar to that. And you guys all know my feelings on that. So I'm not going to really give this game much effort until it's at a point well that is deemed good, you know? And maybe that's
Hmm.
now, but like I said, we are mired in releases right now, and games that actually look good and ready to go on day one that I am excited to play. And I'm not putting those aside to play this game. You know, I'm not doing it. So
Yeah, I just I don't know. It's one of those games where it's just like I think you already said it. Like it's too little, too late. It's just I'm over it, and uh, also it's just not this. It's not the game I think I wanted it to be. Like as far as like not story wise or anything like that. I mean, I think if I play it again, the story might be a little bit. It might open up a little bit more to me. With everything being fixed and everything. Because when I first played it, even with the patch, uh, granted I paid the pirated version, but the pirated version wasn't like how the developers put in like crazy bugs when you pirate it. It wasn't even nothing like that. So um when I played it, I mean, it was just I didn't really run into any game breaking bugs, but there were some bugs that were taking me out the experience. And then even the story itself for me was just not grabbing me at all. Like the first act was okay. Then I got to the second act and I just really didn't fucking care anymore. And by the time I got to the third act, I just was just like over the game. Like it wasn't really appealing to me at any stance. So like it's one of those things where it's like it's not just the game breaking mechanics or the game breaking itself. It's I didn't like the game overall. Like I didn't like the story. I didn't like the power ups they gave you. I didn't like none of that shit because none of that shit was appealing to me. It was a full fledged. It was an RPG, but for no reason. Like there weren't any
mm,
rewarding things behind it. Like I put points into certain things and like yeah, they're increased. It's like a stat game, like that's cool. Or your cooldowns will come down,
yeah,
but
it's
it's
like
like
plus 10% melee damage, and it's like
yeah, but it's
okay,
like I don't really see anything flashy happening with that. Like I mean they had certain moves where you can go stealth, I believe, or you can do like a melee build, which is really cool. But it's like it just wasn't enough to grab me. Like for instance, when I played Deus Ex, I say Deus Ex Machina, but when I played Deus Ex, I can have a fucking like fireball kind of grenade launcher launch from my fucking hand, or I can go invisible, or I can do like little fucking stealth takedowns and take down two people at one time. Like it's and the upgrades matter, and they show you that the upgrades matter. Whereas
well they
like
they
with
put you in
Cyberpunk,
situations in those games where the upgrades matter, you know.
yeah,
Right.
where in Cyberpunk, I would say Cyberpunk does the same thing. The problem is it's not as flashy as Deus Ex, and Deus Ex is not the flashiest game, but you still see your power ups
Mm.
on you. You see the gameplay change. Your character feels more powerful. With Cyberpunk, it just felt like a stat game, and I didn't. Maybe I'm building wrong, and I can toss it up to that. But it's like I don't know. I just need a little bit
Well,
more
yeah.
flashiness for my taste.
To be fair to the game, I've heard that part of this update they've redesigned the skill trees and some of the itemization. Like
Okay.
this was apparently a pretty big patch. Like this was a really big overhaul for the game. So, if those are issues for you when you play the game, then it's possible they fixed them. You know. So, but like I said,
Okay.
they missed their window. I don't care right now. It's funny because I
Yeah.
have a feeling I might actually like this game, but I don't know. It's just that I don't have the patience for it. I don't want to play another open world game, even if it is one that looks it has like a good concept like this. I'm kind of open world out right now, which is funny because I'm playing an open world game and I'm about to play another one in Horizon tomorrow. So I don't know. So it is what it is. But
Yeah.
all right, let's get into the show, Montrell. So for those of you who have not listened to us before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions or comments, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and we will read them on the show and respond to them. And we actually have two today, one from Sage and one from Dat Dude. So we will get to those in a bit. Montreal, let us start with what we've been playing. Would you like to go first this week?
Yeah. So I'm trying to warn people about not warn them. Sifu is a really good game. The problem I have with it, I'm sort of an impatient person. Um, so it's an action game. But it's like I said, it's like a more on the hardcore side of things. So if you're like I am, like if you like Sekiro, Dark Souls, Monster Hunter, those type of action games. It's not like a Devil May Cry action game, which is a hardcore game, but they have certain modes when you get to those
Mm-hmm.
levels, like Dante Must Die mode or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Those levels. Whereas Sifu right out the gate, it's like hard, um, or difficult. I wouldn't say hard, but like difficult. And there's no like option to change the
Yeah.
well, at least right now, there's no option to change the difficulty. You unlock a quote unquote hard mode once you beat the game, which is funny. But besides that, there is no other options or whatever. And I think they're installing the easy mode. But I noticed with this game, I have to be really patient with it, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to have a good day. Like if I'm having a good day, then I'll play Sifu. Because that's how frustrating the game is. It's not the enemies anymore; it's the bosses. Especially like
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a third boss, and like you have to be patient as hell with this boss. Like this boss is the epiphany of like patience. And then it picks up on the second phase, but once you got to get past that first phase, which is
Mm-hmm.
like the slowest phase in the game. Anyway, and then you can't get upset. Like if you get upset with the game, you will start making mistakes and the game will punish you for it. So it's like a really weird game as far as that. And they fix the little things here and there. I will say they patched one of the second bosses. So the second boss had this sweep move, that where like sweep your feet or whatever, and you could not punish it. I beat him before they patched it because apparently it was like they were like, oh, we anticipated him, we didn't want him to be this hard, right? But I beat him before that at age 20, which means you didn't die throughout the entire level.
Mm-hmm.
So I beat him before they patched it or whatever. So I'm kind of pissed, right? Because I bust my ass to beat this boss
Yeah.
who had this like sweep move that you couldn't punish at all. He would just like come up, sweep, and you're like, bro, what the fuck? Like you will learn his patterns, and then he'll go into like a little mini hyper mode, and he'll just like shoulder bump you, sweep, shoulder bump, sweep, and like at one point
Mm.
when I was fighting him one session, he did the sweep move, the shoulder bump sweep move, like 5 times in a row, and he just kept mixing it up on me, and I'm like, bro, I can't punish this at all. Even when I blocked it or dodged it, I couldn't punish it. And I'm like, bro, this is not fair. So apparently, like they did patch that up. But there was another patch, which I'm kind of upset they did for the third boss, where you can like kind of cheese her and do this like parry move.
Mm-hmm.
Which if you have a sword, if you pick up a sword during the level, you can like parry her or not parry her, but like do this one move where it kind of puts her in a stun lock, and you can do it until you get to the second phase. But they patched that, and I was pissed about. I'm like, fuck, because I legitimately hate this bitch. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Mhm.
But I am enjoying the game. I'm just taking it real slow. I don't. Some of my friends already platinum the game. I I maybe y'all don't have jobs. I don't fucking know. Cause bro, I can't do this. I can't do that shit, bro. Like,
Dude,
I
there's
can't
some
platinum this
people.
game.
I gotta say something about, yeah. Now that you're saying this, there's some people that I've met through you on Twitter,
Mhm.
and I follow them, and I see them post shit, dude, and I'm like, do y'all do nothing but play video games? Like, how have you beaten 7 games since the beginning of the year? Like, what are you doing? Like, and they're like beating games that aren't like 5 hours long. Like, they're beating like Pokemon and fucking like fucking all sorts of shit, Sifu, and like all these games, like all sorts of games that like take time to beat. Like, I'm like, what the fuck, man? I can't even beat 7 games in a year. Like shit. What am I
Yeah,
doing?
it has to be. I mean, that has to be it. They have to be playing like video games all day. Like, as soon, like, and I know the memes like, oh, you don't have a job. So even if you do have a job, I can see it happening. But that means literally when you get home from work,
Yeah.
you're immediately jumping on the game and you're playing the game
The whole time,
like
your whole
the
night,
whole
yeah,
time.
yeah. Because like
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
our problem is we play too much multiplayer, dude. Like, we're getting on,
yeah,
like, you're playing League, I'm playing Apex or Lost Ark or something. I'm playing games that are like, you know, like huge time investments that like are basically just time voids, like they're just black holes of time,
yeah,
basically.
yep.
And I think that's what kills us. Like, if we didn't play those, I think we would finish a lot more shit. But
But I mean, it's fun. Like we have a
I know.
party, we talk in the Discord and
Right.
shit. Like it's fun as
Yeah,
fuck.
right.
So
I like, my brother gets on me all the time about it. He's like, dude, what you man? You gotta stop playing these multiplayer games. I'm like, dude, I'm having fun. What do you want me to do? Like, go play all these single player games, half of them of which I'm probably not even gonna like. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna play shit that I'm enjoying. Like, what do you want me to do? It is what it is.
yeah, and
Hanging out with the
which is
boys.
funny because like last year, 2 years ago, if you go to the podcast like a year ago, like we were like all on single player, but
Yeah,
we did play a lot of single player games. Like I don't know,
yeah.
it's just
It
like
goes
right
in
now,
it goes in phases. I think the thing
yeah,
is
it's
right
like an ebb and
now,
flow.
yeah, I think right now we're in like kind of a blissful moment. I think with multiplayer that we actually have a lot of good multiplayer games that we're all enjoying and then we're playing. We're not necessarily playing them all together, but like, you have League that you enjoy. I've been playing Dota a little bit with Brad. I got Final Fantasy 14. Lost Ark just came out. We're playing that. I just started playing PoE too. Like, there's a lot of these games, like, not everybody's playing all of them, but we're just kind of hanging out in the Discord while we each play whatever we want to play. And I don't know, it's working for me. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
what I will say, the funny thing is, Final Fantasy 14 is the reason it's like this. It's been like this since we started playing that game back in May, last year.
that is true.
Because that was the moment. Once we all started playing that game, dude, we were getting on every single night, and it's kind of been like that for about 9 months. Like, there have been little breaks where we don't get on for a few days here and there, but for the most part, somebody's on the Discord every night.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been kind of funny, and I think that's really been hurting my game completion. But like we talked about at the end of the year when we did Game of the Year and stuff, it just last year was just a bad year for games for me. Like, in general. So I think that's the problem. Is like, we're coming up on a 2 month stretch right now that we're in the midst of, that I am going to be drowning in good single player games. So I
Hmm.
think I don't like, I'm playing Ostark. I'm trying to get to end game really soon because I want to start playing these single player games. So yeah, but sorry, finish your thoughts about
No,
seafood. We
no,
got sidetracked.
I completely agree. I think, and that's another problem with seafood. It just came out at a time where um I'm still in multiplayer mode,
Hmm.
and I think like, cause I'm doing all these now that I'm done with like a job site that I've done and whatever.
Hmm.
I think see, and this is why another thing. This is just like a sidebar. I think this is why I have problems listening to video game podcasts because a lot of the video game podcasters are all they do is play video games, right? There isn't really anybody like when you listen to a sports podcast or something like that, right? Um, like it's like a popular reporter or something like that, but they have a job they have to go home to, right? They have to listen to the, whatever, report the game or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
but it's
Right.
not their job. The problem I have with podcasting and video games in general is because they don't talk about shit like this, like the mood you come home to
Yeah.
and the mood that you want to play the game. Like when I'm having a long day at work, I don't really want to wrap my head around a game like Sifu or even any kind of single player game for that instance. It has to
Anything
be a
that makes you like
specific.
think. I think that's where multiplayer games excel is you can just go on
Yeah,
autopilot, dude. You know?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And even games like League or Dota that make you think, it's like a different mindset. It's like you're
Yeah.
out that world and you're in that world because you're focused on
Well,
that shit.
I'll equate MOBAs to riding a bike. When you know how to ride a bike, it's something that's like hard for somebody to do when they don't know how to do it. But once you know how to do it, you kind of know how to do it and you can do it without even paying attention to doing it. That's
Hmm.
kind of how playing a MOBA is. Or at least feels. It maybe shouldn't be that way. Like you probably should be more active with it than that, but sometimes that's just how it feels. Whereas playing single player games can be more, I don't know, more demanding in the sense of like all the shit you gotta find. You just got this dialogue you gotta look at. You gotta read text and shit. Like there's just more to it.
Yeah. Whereas
So
when you're playing Apex, like we can instantly jump into action. Like I can get a couple hours of action in, go to bed, and have a good time. Whereas with like
right,
if I'm playing like Horizon or something like that, right? Like it may take me, I may come to a slow part of the game that I'm like, ugh, I'm not doing any action in this part of the game or whatever. Like even like games like Monster Hunter, right? Like you'll just jump into the action. You like, I
yep,
just want to farm a
yep,
monster today, and
hmm,
I'm about to just farm that monster all fucking day.
yep,
Um, and you have that option, and you can play it with your buds or whatever. You can do it by yourself. But even in Final Fantasy or 14 or something like that. But I think that's the main issue I have right now, especially like well, like with seafood, like it's just hard for me to get into it because I'm like in a multiplayer mode because I'm having some tough days at work, which is probably over now. I'm probably gonna be cool and I probably can jump right back into seafood after this weekend. Um, uh, but a lot of people don't talk about that. I think that has a lot to do with
yeah.
games in general.
Well, I was thinking about this. Is those people right that we're talking about? I mean, like, like to name some of them, right? Like we're talking like the kind of funnies of the world, or like the Last Stand Media, or like Easy Allies. These like
Hmm.
games media influencer personalities. Like their whole existence revolves around video games. That like everything they do is video games, right? Like some of them dabble in like movies and television and stuff, but primarily they're like games coverage, right? And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this for us, right? Is because our like goal someday is to like kind of be in that space a little bit, where we can kind of make this our job, right? And I was thinking about that because there is kind of an inflection point for anybody doing this kind of thing where it does become your job and that changes you as a person, and there's like no way around that.
Hmm.
And for us, I think a large part of what I think is appealing about us is that we are kind of like the everyman talking about games. Like we are
Yeah.
your friends that you shoot the shit with. Like we're the same. Like we go to work for 8 hours, 9 hours a day. We come home and we live our life like everyone else. And like we talk about games from that perspective. So if we ever turn this into a job, that would inherently change the perspective, right? Um,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes me like, part of me is like, I don't want that in one way, but in another, it's like, what is the other option? I guess it's really kind of more of a willpower thing. Like, if we get
Yeah.
there, we have to kind of actively like make sure we don't like, I don't know, like change our perspective, I guess, too much. It's more of a quantity thing versus like changing the way we look at things. But yeah, I
Well,
don't
for
know.
me, I feel like for me, I had a good example of that because you didn't, unfortunately, or fortunately, but unfortunately, I guess, however you want to look at it, has empty, glass half full.
Right.
Like during the pandemic when I got laid off, but I was still making money from like things and everything like that. I had a ton of time just to play video games, and
Mm,
that's all I did.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think I completed a lot of those games. But it was also during a time where there was like almost nothing available, so I had to go through my backlog. And I don't know, I put 120 hours into Dragon Age Inquisition, and I can't even imagine myself doing that shit again. Like
I remember that.
that
He
is
did that. He
crazy.
did do that. Yeah, that is seems insane to me in retrospect. Yeah.
And I got the perfect build, the perfect rogue, like Naruto ninja build, like where I can make shadow clones and everything. It was
Hmm.
crazy. And I can't even do that anymore. But like I don't know, like I had a different perspective on games. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I can't see myself enjoying that game now because I can't I was farming and stuff for like 8 hours for like one item, right? Like
Yep.
that randomly dropped off of a certain enemy. So it's
Mm.
like I can't do shit like that
Yeah, I used to do that when I was
anymore.
younger. I can't do that shit anymore either, really.
Yeah.
Well,
But you
okay,
know what?
so advantage I will say of what we're talking about of being able to do it like it's your job and you can do it all the time is that I think one thing that you and I get jaded about with games is when a game we don't find a game fun, we drop it like a ton of bricks generally, pretty
Mm,
quick. And
yeah.
maybe that's robbed us of some experiences where I think if we did it as a job, I'd be more willing to kind of grind through some of these games or just like enjoy games that I wouldn't normally what's here's a good example, right? Like if like Elden Ring is a game I'm intrigued by. I'd love to play it. But I have accepted in my current form with all the games coming out that are coming out. It's just not a game I'm going to play right now. Like maybe I'll play it in 6 or 8 months, but I don't have time for it, and I don't want to spend the money on it, and I don't want to put it in my like my plate. I don't want to put it on my plate and have it stressing me out that like I haven't played Elden Ring in a week. I need to get back to it. Kind of thing. So if we had more time to play, I would probably play that game, but and I would probably enjoy it and I'd probably have a great time with it. But so that's what's lost for me, I think a little bit is that what the games I play that I decide to play is become a very, very narrow thing, like it's like a really narrow hallway of games that I am willing to put time into anymore. When there's a
Mhm.
genres that I love that I don't connect with as much as I do with RPGs and like strategy games, so I kind of don't put the time into them anymore. Like racing games is another one. Like dude, like Gran Turismo is probably coming out in the next couple months. I'd love to play that game. I really want to get into a racing game. I'm like hyper tempted to play it, but I just know it just like it's not gonna fit. And it's like that kind of sucks. It does. But
Yeah.
so that's one element I think the influencers do get. I just think I think the thing is I don't know. I think a lot of these guys to like I don't know bring this all the way around is like I think a lot of them honestly the ones that are out there that are popular like they never really had perspective because they have been in games journalism for 15 years 10 15 years. And they don't remember what it was like really to be us, and some of them
Yeah.
never were us. They've always been in games coverage to some degree, so it's like they don't really. I don't identify with those people anymore. Like I used to listen to a lot of them actually, but it just I fell off it because like I don't identify with them anymore. I started to realize that their opinions are like they're kind of like influenced by the fact that they can play everything, that they have the time to play everything and that they get everything for free too. And that is inherently going to change the way you view video games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think we'll ever be there personally. Because even if we did this for a job, I don't think I would be willing to accept copies of game code from publishers. So I don't know. But okay. Is that all you got to say about Sifu Mantra? We got really majorly
Yeah, we got
sidetracked.
really sidetracked.
Yeah,
So
we're
I
like
didn't mean to
40
take up your
minutes. We're
time.
like 40 minutes
Yeah.
into the episode, and we haven't even gotten through what I'm playing. And I actually have a lot to say about my game. So buckle up, everybody. All right, so I've been playing two games. Lost Ark, which I kind of went hard on last week. All right, and I've been playing this game a lot. So everything I said last week, I still believe is true. However, the game does have a very addictive quality to it. Hence why I've been playing it. The gameplay loop is very satisfying. It is like a it's funny. The way it's designed reminds me of turn-based strategy games where you do things in such a the goal, the carrot on the stick in this game is always just far enough in front of you that you're like, "Oh, I could spend 5 more minutes and get there." You know? Like so then you end up spending 5 more minutes, but then that turns into 30 minutes, which then turns into 2 hours, and all of a sudden you're like, "Fuck, where did my fucking Saturday afternoon go? Shit." You know, like I didn't plan on playing this
Mhm.
game all day. And there you are. You've played it all day. You know, it's like it kind of has that quality because the quests literally take like 2 or 3 minutes to complete. And they're like so fast. Like going through this game is so fast. It feels fast. Um, and it's satisfying in that regard. I think my I think the thing with this game is I've started to burn out a little bit on it because um this is a weird thing to say for an MMO, but there's too much content. Like I'm literally like on content overload. I'm almost done with what is considered the primary story of the game right now. And I hit level 50 last night, which is the current like cap sort of. It's kind of the soft cap, really. You can continue leveling after that, it looks like, but you need like a bajillion experience points to actually gain a level. So it's not really going to happen fast. But I hit level 50 and it doesn't unlock anything. This is like Final Fantasy 14. You have to finish the main story to actually unlock endgame, and it's kind of annoying in that regard. But so yeah, I'm almost there. I'm like a zone and a half away, like a major zone and a half away from that. And that's probably going to take me a few days to get through. But
Mhm.
yeah, the game is fun. I see why it's appealing. I still think this game is going to fall off because there are very serious pay to win vibes here with this game's cash shop. Not in a real I don't think it's in an obvious way. I don't think people are going to see it at first, not until they actually get to the end game, because most of the stuff you can buy that's pay to win doesn't really impact you until end game. It's like you can buy like level up materials and like like gear upgrade materials in the cash shop and stuff like that. And you can only buy it in limited quantities. It's not unlimited, so you can't just like finish the game in a night if you have like $10,000 just to fucking burn. But still, like that is there, that element is there, giving people an advantage. So there is a pay to win element to the game. I know some people will say, "Oh, it only affects PVE content. Who cares?" But like, dude, yeah, it affects PVE content insofar that like if you go into a group and your gear level is 350 and some guy goes into the same is like applying to the same group and his gear level's fucking 450, they're gonna take the
Yeah.
450 guy. They're not gonna take the 350 guy. So like a free to play players are inherently at a disadvantage for content, especially around what I've heard. This game's community is very meta focused, where if you don't have certain engravings and shit, people will just kick you out of groups and stuff. If your item level is not up to par, they'll just kick you out of groups. So again, that like inherently puts paying players ahead of free players in terms of that kind of progression as well. So I don't know. The game's fun. The story's terrible. Literally stopped paying attention to it. I'm at the point where I'm just skipping every cutscene. I don't even care what's happening. I have no idea what the fuck is going on in this game. I do not care. The lore is stupid as hell. Like the game has literally like a medieval night kingdom in the same world that there's like a fucking like mechanical kingdom that has mechs walking around shooting machine guns. Like it's weird shit. And then there like a kingdom I just came from was like this fucking like Chinese based kingdom that is like very like I don't know, like middle age Renaissance China period to it. And it's just weird. The game's fucking weird in that regard. So I don't if you're looking for a riveting story, this probably is not the place for it. But the gameplay is fun though. And gameplay tends to be king in a game like this. The gameplay is very fun. Um, the what I will say too, outside of combat, is the exploration is really fun. There's so much shit to collect in this game, and you get rewards for collecting all of it. And it's just really satisfying in that regard. The collectible stuff, it's just I don't know. Like, I think games should do this more, where they have collectibles and they actually give you shit for getting the collectibles. Like, I think not many games, not enough games do that kind of thing, and I think it's really rewarding here, and incentivizes people to be thorough in their game, which is
Hmm.
not something a lot of MMOs actually encourage, to be honest. Which is interesting. PvP, I will say, totally gear independent. Everybody's on the same playing field in PvP, which I think is a great decision. PvP is actually really fun. They have a mode that is a 6-way free for all. So 1v1, like with 6 people, like 6 people fighting each other, all free for all, no teams. I really enjoyed that mode. It is kind of a dick mode though, where it's like kind of a thing where you almost want to be a pussy and just wait for people to get low, and then you go in and snipe the kill and then get out, kind of thing. That
Hmm.
appears to be the best strategy so far that I've noticed, but it is still fun regardless, with that. And then the stronghold. So yeah, the stronghold. The stronghold is literally just like a Clash of Clans mobile game thing. You build your stronghold and you spend energy and resources, and it takes 10 real life hours to build this building over here or research this thing. And it's like, I don't like I don't hate it in this context. It's not terrible, but I just like I don't like why. I don't know. It just feels so silly. And from what I understand, it's actually really integral to progressing your character, is building up your stronghold. So yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. The last thing I want to mention is you get a boat at some point in the game, pretty decently far into the story. You get a ship, and you can actually like navigate the ship around the world on a little isometric map. And I think that's actually really cool. It's a different element of exploration. Um, there are like events out on the ocean and stuff, and there's like all these islands you can go do on the ocean as well. The problem with it is that it's gated by gear level, so I can't do any of the islands on the ocean because my gear level is not fucking high enough yet, because I haven't finished the fucking story. So it's
Hmm.
like, it's really annoying. They give you access to this mechanic, and then there's just like gates everywhere that you can't get through because you're a little weak bitch. It's like, it's kind of annoying. So it's like I'm like waiting for the game to open up and get fun, because right now I'm not feeling the fun that much. I'm kind of trying to get there. So we'll see if it happens. Like, I don't know. So, but I will probably be continuing to play this here and there. So for sure. Um, Montreal, you downloaded it. Do you plan? You still plan on playing it?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. I was telling Jet that I don't know, something about the game seems off to me when I played it. Like the combat's fun, but maybe because I'm just still in the early game, it seems like really weak, like that engaging. Because the story is
Yeah.
definitely not engaging at all.
No, the game's not
Uh,
engaging. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's definitely not that engaging of a game, but it has, when you get into it, like when you get into the flow of like actually progressing, it does have an addictive quality to it. But until you get there, it's like, that's why my initial reactions to the game were so negative last week. Because I think I had the same thing as you. Like, it just was like, okay, it's not blowing my hair back.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I might get into it. I might give it a chance a little bit more, but I just have to. I don't know. I just have to actually apply pressure to it and try it, but I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay. Second game I've been playing. I've been playing this kind of on the side, because it's more conducive to short bursts of gameplay. Is Pokemon Legends Arceus. Finally started this last week. I probably played 8 hours, 9 hours, maybe. At this point, so this game's interesting. I want to start my discussion of it around a comment we got from Sage, which I somehow lost.
I got the comment pulled up
I got
here.
it.
Hold
I got
on.
it. I got it. I
Oh,
got
you got
it.
it. Okay.
So this is what Sage said about the game. He sent this to us last week. Uh, So you all should know that Pokemon Legends Arceus is a mediocre step in the franchise with bad visuals, the longest, most boring story to date, a catching mechanic that loses its magic very fast, mind-numbing dialogue, and battle mechanics that adds little to nothing. The hype around this game is just Pokemon with a little extra. At best, this game is a 7 out of 10. And okay, so far, this is what I'm going to say. Nothing he says there is necessarily untrue. He's mostly accurately describing the game from a negative standpoint. Like I can't refute most of this. However, what I will say for myself is that I am enjoying this game a lot. Okay, so far, in the short time I've been playing it, it is
Okay.
it is the breath of fresh air we've been asking for, Montrell. It's different from the mainline Pokemon games. Battling Pokemon in this game is secondary. That is the secondary goal of the game. It's like the secondary mechanic. Catching Pokemon is way more important in this game than anything else you're doing. You will have to battle. There are many sections of the game that require you to battle, especially to advance the story, increase your player rank and shit like that. Like you will have to battle Pokemon. Like that is part of the game. But catching Pokemon is much more of like the bread and butter of the game, like what they want you to be doing most of the time. And honestly, just that small thing in an open world game is enough to really keep me going here. Like I am having a lot of fun running around just catching Pokemon. Like it's like that is fun, dude. Like this is something that I think the mainline games have kind of lost me on a long time ago is that catching Pokemon in the primary games is like not really fun, you know, because to catch a Pokemon, you literally always have to battle it and you always have to fucking damage it and you have to fucking like straddle its HP, like the mid to end of its HP bar, so you don't kill it, you know, before you catch it. And that shit
Hmm.
is like grown tired after 25 years. You know, I'm a little over that shit at this point. Whereas this game, you don't have to battle Pokemon at all to catch them. You just walk up behind them, you know, like in the tall grass. You like go into like you're like hidden in tall grass. You like go into the little stealth mode. You crouch and you walk up to them. You wait for them to turn their back, and you throw a Pokeball at them, which is like a critical hit basically, and it heavily like increases your chance to catch a Pokemon. And you either catch it or you don't. Most of the time, you catch it, and it feels fucking great. It's you know, like I like it. I like that. I like the fact that I don't feel like I need to be battling all the time to advance my party either. Because when you catch Pokemon, even if you don't battle them, your Pokemon gain experience in your party. So you can
Okay.
actually like conceivably level your Pokemon through this mechanic as well. And I don't know. I find that fun. I find the fact that this is an open world game. I like that. I think this is a really good template for the main Pokemon team to take and maybe apply to a future mainline game. Like I think a mainline Pokemon game with this game style would be extremely fucking fun. Like I really think that, and I hope that the sales of this game kind of prove that to freaking Nintendo that okay guys, maybe it's time we experiment a little bit and like try something different with the main series because like as much as this game on its own standing here is not an amazing game, this game is severely overhyped. The fucking reviews for this game are ridiculous. Like fucking outlets giving this shit a 10, fucking 10s all over the place, 10, 9.5. Not this game's not that fucking good, okay? Like it's not. It's straight up not. Like I think the like I don't understand why the conversation around Pokemon is such a pendulum that it's either the greatest fucking game ever or the worst fucking game ever. It's like it can't be anywhere in the middle. And that feels like where Pokemon is. The discourse around Pokemon fucking is at this point. Because this game is like I wouldn't call it mediocre. That feel even though it's not a negative term, it feels negative. Like this game is solid. Like it's a solid game. I think it's fun. It looks like shit. Like somebody, I think it was Skill Up described this perfectly. Like this game looks like a game. You know when you load a game and you like load into the world and like the all the environment loads in, but there's no textures yet, and it's just all
Yeah.
smooth and everything. That's what the game looks like all the time. Like there's no textures on anything, and it looks terrible as a result. These environments look really bad, and I just can't understand how a company that is so successful cannot muster better art than out of a game like this. Like it seems crazy to me, but whatever. It
Yeah,
doesn't hurt the game that much. But yeah, go ahead.
it's almost like they're really afraid to go super stylized with of
Yeah,
Pokemon, and I have no idea why. Like the style is very weird. I
yeah.
don't know compared to like other games like Xenoblade and
Mhm.
Breath of the Wild and stuff like
Right.
that.
Because dude, those games look good though. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
that this game looks terrible compared standing next to those games. And this game is 5 years coming out 5 years later than those games. That's crazy. That is insane. You know? Because it's funny, this game has elements like that remind me of Breath of the Wild. The just the interface and the way the game kind of like pops things on your screen reminds me a lot of the way Breath of the Wild was, you know?
Hmm.
And running around the world reminds me of Breath of the Wild too, because it just kind of like throws you out there and says it'll give you objective markers a lot sometimes, but there's been a couple times so far where the game's just kind of like, hey, you need to increase your rank to do anything else, so just go do stuff, you know, like just go catch some Pokemon, you know, and like okay, and it's just like it's fun, it's like open and free form. But the thing is, so far the problem I'm having with it sometimes is the game like gates the map off, parts of the map off until you do certain things, and it's like it's supposed to be open world, you know, just fucking let me run around and get my ass killed, you know, by like a level 50 fucking ride on or something, you know. There are periods where that is like the map is open enough that it lets you do that. I will say the second area you get to go to is a lot more open than the first, it seems. I'm going way off the beaten path in the second area compared to the first one, so it seems a little less gated. So maybe it gets better in that regard as the game goes on. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's just like I'm having fun. I don't think this is gonna be like one of the best games I ever played or anything like that. I'm probably never gonna play it again after I beat it. But at the same time, it is a nice game to play when I haven't played Pokemon in a long time. And I think I know how jaded you are on this, like because we both kind of are. I'm a little softer, I think, than you are on it for the most part. But I don't know. I would say just give this game a shot. I think you'll find it appealing in some ways. There are some elements of it that are annoying. The game's got some antiquated design where it's just got like the side quests they make you do are kind of annoying. Running around the village just pisses me off. It's such a waste of your fucking time. They just make you run around like crazy. With
Hmm.
no fast travel in the village itself, and the village is actually pretty big, so there's a lot of just like running back and forth, and it's like, you know. But what I will say, one place I will disagree with Sage on is that the game battle mechanics that add little to nothing. I actually disagree with him here. Is this game does add some stuff with to the battle mechanics. A couple things that I do enjoy is that Pokemon can actually master their moves now, where they will level up and use a move enough that they will master it. And what that allows them to do is use it in agile style or strong style. And I mean, basically, what that says is what it sounds like. Strong style does more damage, but you become slower if you use it, and I'll explain that in a second. An agile style is weaker, but you're faster. So what that means is slower and faster. Is that the game actually has an action order now for you, and your Pokemon, if they are either a have a natural speed stat that is so much higher than the opposing Pokemons, they can take multiple turns in back to back before the other Pokemon gets to go, which has never been a thing in Pokemon, as far as I know. um, and if you use strong style, it's the opposite. The enemy Pokemon gets a speed advantage where they can take multiple turns in your thing. But the thing is, in the player's hands, this is a mechanic that is really powerful because if you use a move on your first turn that does, let's say, 50 or sorry, like 47% of the enemy's HP, you know, on the
Hmm.
hit, you can use strong style on the next turn and you will kill it, you know. You'll do the remainder because it's more powerful, right? So It's a kind of mechanic that honestly feels like it's going to make the game easier once I get deeper into it. But I like the fact that the game has an action order now because I think that makes the speed stat inherently more interesting in the sense that it also makes it more valuable, which is debatable whether that's a good thing or not. But rather than always going first or second, you can kind of at least you can influence that economy, that action economy, in a way that you couldn't before in older Pokemon games. So I like that element. um, One other thing I just ran into yesterday was multiple Pokemon can take part in a battle. So I fought a battle yesterday where there were three enemy Pokemon fighting me at the same time, 3v1, and it was fucking nuts. Like it was really difficult. Honestly, you can imagine that
Yeah.
three Pokemon attacking your one at the same time is hard. So that's interesting. I'm wondering later in the game, are there more dynamic situations where maybe I'm fighting with a partner and there's like three or four Pokemon we're fighting at the same time and it's like 2v4 or something? Like there's kind of cool stuff that could come from that. Um, Another interesting thing in battle, you can move around in battle. Like you can move your trainer around in battle. This doesn't do anything per se, but it's kind of cool to be able to do it mid fight. You can like reposition yourself and stuff, but that's just like a small little um immersion thing, I guess. And one other thing they added that I've never seen in a Pokemon game before, maybe this is in the newer ones, but I don't remember this in Sword and Shield, is that your Pokemon have always only been able to use four moves, right? They've only been able to know and learn four moves. That is still true. However, now in this game, when they learn a fifth move, you don't have to forget one of the four moves to use it. You can just swap the move in whenever you want with one of the other moves, and then you can swap the old move back if you want whenever you want. Like they have access to their full learned move list at any time. You don't have to go to some fucking stupid NPC to remember your Pokemon's moves that they forgot because you wanted to fucking, swap it in for swap a new more powerful move in or anything like that. None of that dumb bullshit is here anymore. A literal convenience quality of life feature. I cannot believe it took 25 years for them to fucking do this in a Pokemon game. But Jesus Christ, like this makes the game so much better. Like it's stupid how much better it is because I can just choose my loadout whenever I want. If there's a specific battle where I need a specific move, I can just swap it in. Like it's fucking great. So yeah, I mean, and like TMs and stuff. If they did this, which they haven't, that I haven't run into a TM yet, but if the game had them, or if they do this in future games, if you teach a Pokemon a TM move and you like have to forget it for some reason, like you wouldn't lose the move permanently and have to go get another one. It's like it just
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just a huge quality of life feature that I think they should. Seriously, the fact that they've introduced this in a game, if the next mainline Pokemon game comes out and doesn't have this, I'm gonna be pissed. Like that is a significant regression in innovation that would be stupid, like to take away, in my opinion. But that's just me. Story in this game, stupid, not really that interesting. You are so the game starts like this is literally the first thing that happens when you boot the game up. You are literally a teenage kid in the modern day of what would be the modern day in the Pokemon world, and you get zapped into a void with Arceus and thrown back in time into a time period where they have just discovered Pokeballs, like they just started making them. I don't know why they did this. Why they didn't just make you just a person who lived in that time period naturally, I don't fucking know. But it's silly. I do like the world that that the game exists in. It is interesting. Pokemon are considered dangerous in this world. People are scared of them. Like they don't know much about them. This is like one of the first periods where they're trying to learn more about Pokemon and like understand Pokemon and like train them and stuff and have battle partners and things like that, which is kind of cool to see. It does give an element to it that these creatures are not like they're not just like teddy bears. Like they are dangerous. Like they could actually kill people. In reality. But so I do find that intriguing. The actual plot is pretty lame for the most part. It's nothing really interesting, but there are some cool stuff there. So
Yeah.
also, there's other mechanics like the alphas, which are interesting. They're just really powerful Pokemon, basically running around. They have moves that a Pokemon of their type might not normally have. I ran into a Cricketune that had fucking Hyper Beam the other day, and it was just spamming the shit out of it on me, and it was fucking annoying. So it's an interesting thing. They're just like statistically more powerful in general too. So catching them is possible. And they are inherently more powerful. The other thing about this game, I'm just like gushing right now. I feel but there's a lot of fucking Pokemon in this game, and I'm surprised by how many there are and from how many different generations. But what I will say is it's pretty clear that Gen 4 was their inspiration for this game, for like the area you're in. There's a lot of Gen 4 Pokemon in this game, and there are tons of Gen 4 references in the game. These like two clans that you run into are called the Diamond and Pearl clans, like literally the games Diamond and Pearl clans. Arceus, I believe, is a Gen 4 legendary. And those two clans worship deities that bend time, and then the other one bends space, which is Palkia and Dialga, which are the cover legendaries for Gen 4 as well. That's what their powers were. So,
Okay.
very heavy Gen 4 references. That's probably another reason I like this game, because I really like Gen 4. So, um, yeah, it's a fun game. I think it's a fun game. I'm gonna beat it for sure. I think, and yeah, I mean, I understand if you play it and it doesn't appeal to you as somebody who's kind of over Pokemon. I get it in that regard. Like, if that's where you're at, that's where you're at, dude. Like, honestly, it's probably too little, too late for a lot of people. But for somebody like me who has been jaded with Pokemon and a little kind of over the franchise, this is a nice breath of fresh air for me. So
Well, I have it. It's just I still haven't played it, so uh
it's
yeah, I
really
just
easy
haven't
to
been in the
start,
mood.
man. Just start it up and play it for like an hour. Like, you'll make good progress in an hour. Like, that's what's nice about
Okay.
this game is it's a really nice handheld game. And that is exclusively how I've played it so far. Is yeah, it's really good in short bursts, 30 minutes to an hour. You can actually get a good amount done in that time, and feel accomplished.
Okay.
So I would recommend it, especially if you already have it. Just give it a shot. Just pop it in the Switch, man. Just pop it in there.
I give it a shot.
I mean, does what I described sound appealing to you, or are you kind of like fading
It
on it?
it does. It's just I've never been one person. I've actually always been a person that loves the story of Pokemon and having objectives and going through the whole gym battle. So just running around catching Pokemon doesn't really sound
Well, there
super
are
appealing to me.
objectives. There's definitely objectives. Um, it's just they're not gym battles. Like, it's more about the wild Pokemon than anything. So
Yeah. It's just like I don't know. I like the whole idea of the Pokemon actually being dangerous and everything. I just wish it was more of a um I just wish it was more traditional Pokemon, but updated like how it is now. But I guess they have to start somewhere. So I'm glad it exists. It's just like I said, I'm not really into the whole like when I play Pokemon, I only caught all Pokemon one time and I was in Red and Blue. But besides that, I always was like, I want to finish the story and get my Pokemon to where, I like them and everything of that nature. I just like the whole experience. Um, I don't know. So for this one to be focused mainly on catching Pokemon is like it's just not turning me on to the game, to be honest with you.
yeah, I understand. Um, it is interesting. I think a piece of the game that I find really fun though is I caught a Chimchar early in the game, which is one of
Hmm.
the Gen 4 starters. It's the fire starter. And dude, running into that, like, you know how rare starters are in the main games. They're never in the wild. Like, you cannot catch them in the wild. Like, they are never available that way. So to run into someone in this game, which to be frank, I caught that one and I have never run into another starter since anywhere else. So they're not like super common, I don't think. It was just a really I was like, dude, I audibly gasped. I was like, dude, is that a Chimchar? Oh shit. I got like really excited. So
Mhm.
that element of the game is there too. There's some Pokemon here that will surprise you that they're out there that you can just go run out and catch. Um,
Okay.
so yeah. Which I like that. It's something they don't do in the normal games, like the main games. Like you can't catch the starters, which I've never understood why they've held to that so hard for so long. It's like, dude, like they're not that special anymore. Like it's just weird to me. Um but
Yeah, it's really weird. It's just a lot of stuff that's questionable that they do, and I don't know why they do it the way they do it. And I'm frankly just like kind of over it. Like
yeah, right.
they like it took them this long to
Get
get
here.
to where it needs to get. Yeah,
Well,
to
it's
get
not even
here,
that
and it's
good
like
either. That's my other issue with this game. Definitely, to Sage's point, is that this game could be way better than it is. That's what's stupid about it. Is like I just don't like. Is this really the best they're capable of? It just like drives me a little nuts. You know, it's like you guys can't make a better game than this. It's so weird. It's like they're a studio that's like full of people who've worked there for 30 years and they never hire anybody new. Like that's what it feels like because their games are all like this, where they're all the same.
yeah,
Like they're afraid to ever do anything new. And it's like even when they do something new, it's just like not all the way there. Like they don't go all the way with it. It's weird. It's kind of it weirds me out for sure. Um
yeah.
so but I'll be interested to know your opinion on it if you do give it a shot. So, if
Yeah,
you
like I
feel the
said,
same
I'll
way I
give it a
do, but
shot. It's just I I don't know, man. I think I really come to terms with a lot of stuff this year as far as the gaming. Like I'm just over the whole open world thing, and uh like two of the games I want to play, like Dying Light and Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. Those are open world games, but it's just like, do they have to be open fucking world? And then even Elden Ring is open world now, and it's like, bro, I'm tired of like looking at the map, the
yeah.
node, then running to the node. Like I'm tired of
Well,
that.
yeah, you're looking at map markers and you have a fucking compass that points you where to go, and yeah,
Yeah,
I do agree with you. I find it weird. Like Elden Ring is funny because when you say open world Dark Souls, I think that excites a lot of people, but it never excited me in any way. Because it's like to me, it's like not really innovative. Like, is that the point we're at? That innovation in a game is just making it open world. Like that's innovative. Like that's not really innovative. It's like this is a tired genre at this point. Like we've had open world games for 15 years, more than that, 20 years. Like with fucking GTA, it's like these have been around a long time, dude. Like open world games have been around a long fucking time. Like making your game open world isn't inherently a good thing. And I really feel like Elden Ring is going to be a weird game. I'm really curious to see how that game lands because I think a lot of Dark Souls design tenets can't be done in an open world. Like I just like how difficult the game is just not going to be there in the same way because you can literally walk away and go do something else. Whereas in Dark Souls, those bosses are hard walls most of the time. Like you have to overcome them to continue in the game, you know? And that's why those games are hard because there's no other option generally. Like you can't walk away, go do something else, level up a bunch, and come back. Like you'd have to grind, but generally the games are pretty linear. So
yeah,
um, yeah,
and I think that's what I liked about it. It was well. I mean, I haven't played Elden Ring, so I can't say it's well designed or not or whatever. But it was just something cool about how Dark Souls, especially Dark Souls One, was designed. Having shortcuts and the way they design the bosses to kind of teach the player the game.
hmm
To be honest, the most open one is Dark Souls 2, and that one was kind of shit.
yeah,
So it's like you can tackle. I like the fact that you can tackle bosses any type of way, but at the same time, that game was shit. It wasn't shit as far as like overall a game, but as far as you're talking about Dark Souls quality, a lot of people consider Dark Souls 2 the worst one, and for good reason. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, like I come to terms with a lot of stuff, and one thing that I have come to terms with is just like it's not like I hate when people say I'm too old for Pokemon. I don't think I'm too old for Pokemon. I think I am at the point where I'm just sick of it now. I'm like, y'all, I gave y'all 20 years of my life. I
Yeah.
tried. And
Yeah.
y'all just now y'all want to do something and I'm over it now. It's like the ex that keeps cheating and you're like, "Hey man, like
Yeah.
listen, like I'm gonna keep you keep taking her back or they keep taking them back or whatever." And then, they're like, "Okay, I finally get my act together." And they do. And you're just like, I don't fucking care anymore. I'm out. I'm leaving. And that's it. And they may be the best person ever after that. And you're just like,
Mhm.
I just don't fucking care. I'm over it. And that's how I am with Pokemon. Like I gave the franchise so many chances. And now that they're finally trying to do something, it's just like I don't fucking care, bro. I'm glad everyone else is enjoying it. I can't care. And maybe people can call me jaded or like, oh, that's not fair. I don't fucking care. Like
Mhm.
I don't care. Like I'm sorry. I just don't
Yeah.
care.
That's fair, man. I mean, you don't have like I don't know, you don't need to feel obligated to play anything, right? So,
Yeah.
I understand. I'm having the opposite like reaction with this game. It's funny. I'm playing it and now I'm in the mood for Pokemon. I'm like thinking about like playing X. I have X or whatever, and I'm thinking about playing that or going and getting like the Pearl remake because I do love Gen 4. So and playing that. So it's like I'm having the opposite thing, and I just like got Yokai Watch because of a story we'll talk about later, which is
Hmm.
Pokemon styled game, and I've heard such good things about it. I kind of want to play that, maybe try that out. So yeah, I don't know. It you know, hey man, we're on diverging roads, Montrell. Okay, I'm going back to Pokemon. I'm embracing them. Maybe I don't know. We'll we'll see when they announce the next like mainline generation and it's like the same fucking shit again. Like if it's the same shit as like Sword and Shield, I'm just gonna be like, oh god, you know. I'm really kind of hoping like they really change it up with this next one because if they don't, dude, it's just like, man, I don't. Because that's the thing, this game's selling well, man. Like, so I'm kind of wondering if it's gonna sour the fan base on the more traditional games because we've gotten so many of those, and people are gonna be like, man, this open world Pokemon is fucking awesome. I want open world Pokemon, like so. Yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting thing to keep track of for sure. But all right, Montreal, we've been talking about shit for a while. Let's get into the news. We've let the episode get away from us, as usual. So let's start. This is a minor story, but a weird one. There is a rumor that has come out from a Twitter account called Account NGT. He's a industry leaker, and he is saying that uh, he's heard from multiple sources that Supermassive Games, who made Until Dawn, are remaking Until Dawn for current gen consoles, PS5. This is a game that came out, I believe, in 2015. So 6.5 years ago. I think it came out in August of 2015. It came out six
Hmm.
and a half years ago on PlayStation 4, which I this rumor flabbergasted me when I heard it because I'm like, this is worse than The Last of Us, dude. Like remaking The Last of Us. Like this is a game that literally is modern. Like straight up. Like yeah, it's got some jank to it. It's definitely got some weird animations and stuff and at times, but like it's a very playable game now and remaking it makes no sense. Like how are you going to make it better than it was? I don't know. Like what do you think of this?
I don't know what's up with this weird like obsession with making remaking games that are like barely old. Like to be honest, I don't even remember Until Dawn. Like I'm trying to remember this game and I'm like I can't fucking remember it. Oh, now I remember the fucking game. Okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I
the one
guess
where the high schoolers go on a cabin trip on in a
yeah.
mountain, and it's
And
like,
I remember this
yeah,
first came out and it kind of like took, you know, PlayStation by storm and people are like, "Oh my god, this game's amazing."
yeah,
For me, it's one of those story-driven games. Like I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad those exist. They're just not for me. That's all I'm gonna leave it at.
hmm
I don't. The game is 7 years old, by the way, so I guess that makes sense.
yeah, but okay. I like this game a lot, actually. I think this is a really good PS4 game, but it doesn't make sense to remake it now. Like, I just like not enough time has passed. You know, are people clamoring for this? Like, are people gonna be super excited when this is announced and be like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to play this game again that I just played like fucking 6 years ago"? It's like I don't care. I'm not gonna play a remade version of this game. Like, I don't like. I don't know. I just
I think it's for
it's
more
weird.
so kids who were young when the game came out. Like,
Yeah,
they're
I guess
probably
so.
adults now. They're probably 18. They can play the game now. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I will say in the rise of Twitch, this feels like a really good Twitch game that didn't have that environment to come out in, and I think people would really, really enjoy this game on Twitch, especially if they do some of the stuff they've done. I think they've done it where they integrate it with Twitch, where they actually let the like streamers can let the audience influence decisions that are made or vote on decisions and stuff that are made in the game. So if they do that, that could be a really fun way to play, actually, where it's like interactive, where like your Twitch chat can like choose the story for you, basically that you have. So that could be an interesting um, way to for the game to come out. So maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I wanted to. I was thinking that too. Like maybe they just trying to grab the Twitch audience because I mean this is those story games do really good numbers on Twitch and it's more interactable with the Twitch audience and stuff like that. So I mean it makes sense. I guess it makes a lot of sense if you be honest.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
we'll see. I'm
yeah.
sure we'll hear about it soon if it's true. So. All right, Montreal, let's move on. This is a follow up to a story we talked about last week with Platinum. So, Platinum CEO has continued to do interviews, and this week he said that he would not dismiss acquisition offers as long as our freedom is respected. And you said this pre episode. My initial reaction to this is yikes. uh I feel like Platinum is actually legitimately in trouble. Like I don't know. Where do you come down?
Yeah, I feel like they are as well because it's just weird the way they're moving right now. They really want someone to like, hey, take us, take us, take us, and it's like, man, just chill. Like, I don't know. But to their credit, I mean, to their dismay, or not their dismay, but to their point rather, they make good games, but the games don't really sell. And I mean, they're critically acclaimed, so we can't just say,
Hmm.
get good, bro. Like there are good games. It's just I guess their niche. I don't know. And
Yeah.
that's the problem I have with Platinum. I don't know what they want to be. Like, are you
Yeah.
guys trying to be
Right.
like the super Uber, the next
Yeah.
Square Enix or something like that, or the next Atlas? Are you guys trying to be that, or are you trying to just be a middleware company? Like,
Yeah.
what are you trying to
Or
do?
contract company.
Uh,
Because that's a big problem for them. They don't really own anything, you know?
yeah.
Like what's an original IP that Platinum's made? Like there really isn't one, you know? Everything
Well, I
they've
mean, they
made has
made
been in
IPs. Bayonetta's been the one they made, but then they sold it. They got it
they
from
sold it
they
to
got it from
Nintendo.
Sega, and then they sold it to Nintendo.
Yeah. Which
So,
probably a mistake in retrospect, to be honest.
mhm.
Yeah, and then near that's I mean that's Square's thing. They did some licensed games for Activision, some of those movie games that they made. And Babylon's Fall, I don't know if that's theirs or not. I think it is actually, but then you've got like Metal Gear, that's not theirs. It's Konami's, of course, which is probably one of their more iconic games that they've made. But yeah, just I don't know. And then like they came out last week and they were like publicly almost like begging Microsoft to come back and like make Scalebound with them, you know? And it's like, dude, like this is weird. Like
Which
they
which is
really
which
must be kind of desperate right now.
yeah, it's like so. Like I said before last week, one of their leaders, has a really weird personality. I think he's finally realizing, like, okay, maybe my personality and the way I've been handling things have burned bridges. Um, because they have like he was one of the original creators of Devil May Cry, the first one. but
Yeah.
he wasn't on the second one or the third one. And a lot of people consider the third one like the best one besides, 4 and 5. And and the people that were under him probably took his style or ran that style, and they perfected it or made it better or whatever. I mean, we had Devil May Cry 5, which is really good. And then even for like Bayonetta and stuff like that, or like Clover Studios is like old Platinum Games, and Clover Studios used to be under Capcom, and then they left Capcom and made Platinum Games. So like he has games like Okami under his belt. He has games like or that studio, Platinum Games. I consider them Clover Studios. So they have games like Beautiful Joe,
Mhm.
Okami, and all these good action games. But like I feel like it kind of bloated that particular guy's head up because, like I told you, his personality on Twitter is like if you say one wrong thing to him as a fan, he's blocking you like straight up.
Yeah.
Like you be like, hey man, like I really enjoy Bayonetta. I told you guys 1,000 times, don't mention Bayonetta to me. Block, and you're blocked. And it's
Mhm.
like, and that, and then I know like Twitter personalities and then like one and real life personalities may be different, but maybe there's some kind of real some kind of similarities there because that scalebound thing, it sounds like they're the ones who are like, no, we don't want to do this because they're asking Microsoft to come back to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when it got canceled, they were like, yeah, we're done with it. We don't fucking care about scalebound at all. Like you remember when we read that story, how weird it was? Like
Mhm.
they weren't even pinting over it. They were like, yeah, whatever. We're in bed with Nintendo now, or we're doing this and that and third.
Yeah.
Um, so I really think it's just one of those things where they fell on their own sword. Like they're like, okay, we're not as good as we thought we think we are. Like they are really good. They're a really talented company, but it's like
Yeah.
they don't know how to maneuver the way they thought they did. And
Mhm.
I think it's just like one of those harsh realities. Whereas like companies like Ninja Theory, right? They're the opposite in my opinion. Whereas they came out the gate swinging really hard as far as like, oh, we're really good at this, and that, third. Devil May Cry humbled them. But even though people still recognize their talent when they made DMC Devil May Cry, but then you got Hellblade and all these other games that they made, um, which is like they're a really humble company, but they're still super talented. I think like Ninja Theory is their like Western counterpart as far as Platinum Games.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting to see those two in the past they've headed down towards
Mhm.
because Platinum Game don't just make action games. They try to make space game like they made Star Fox. They made this other game called Mad World,
The wonderful
Infinite
wonderful 101.
Wonderful Wonder One. They made a online
Vanquish.
multiplayer game, Vanquished. They made Vanquish. They made another online multiplayer game,
Yeah.
Anarchy Online, which is like
Mm.
arena fighter game. So I mean, they tried to do different avenues of games. Um,
They actually have a really great resume, dude.
yeah,
Like,
they do. And it's just I don't know what it is. Their games are niche though, but I don't know if it's like
yeah. Is it
I just
their
I don't know.
fault? Is it the publisher they collaborate with? Or they're just not marketing them enough? Because, dude, another one they made is Astral Chain, and that game, like, I mean, I think it was did all right for Nintendo, but it's I don't think it like blew the doors off or anything like that. It's kind of weird, man. Like, yeah, Nier Automata is probably the most successful game they've ever made, like
But they didn't
financially.
write the story for that game.
Yeah, right. And they really just made the gameplay and probably built some of the actual game out, but like they didn't write the story. They don't own it, you know.
Yeah, and what do you hear from Nier and Automata fans?
It's
You
Yoko
hear about the
Taro.
story.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, and you hear people clamoring about Yoko Taro, and he's not part of Platinum. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So
So like
yeah.
when they have direction, I think that's the problem they lack. They lack direction. Like if you give them a goal, they can complete that goal to completion. But if you let them go out on their own and do their own thing, they don't know what the fuck they want. Um,
Yeah.
and that's actually like I can understand that. I've been there as far as like career wise. So it's like
Mhm.
I don't know where the company wants. they maybe they do need to be one of those companies that just work under a publisher or one of the big three or whatever. Because yeah, like at this point we tried. I mean, they had like 10 years to get their shit together, and at this point it's just like you gotta do something, man. I
Yep.
don't think going that route. I think they wanted to be Bungie, right?
Mm.
How Bungie left Microsoft, and Microsoft was like, and I
Well,
mean,
they spun off from Capcom, a lot of their developers. So,
mhm,
yeah, they are actually similar, I think, in that way.
yeah, and um, I feel like they made these good games. The problem is though, when they spun off from Capcom, they didn't let it be known that hey, we are the ones who made Devil May Cry. You know what I'm saying? We're the ones who made
Mm.
Beautiful Joe. We're
Hmm.
the ones who made Okami. Like all these good games that you guys know of, we're the ones who made God Hand. Like we're the people who made these games. Um and moved the action genre forward. And not it wasn't even enough for Bayonetta to get them out of the and everybody played Bayonetta. I think that to me, I think that was a critically successful. And like sales wise, that was really good. Because I remember everybody played Bayonetta. Like even people who didn't play action games was like, yo, this witch game with the
Yeah,
long hair. Like
yeah.
everybody played that shit.
It's kind of
So
weird though because the series died until Nintendo came in and funded Bayonetta 2.
yeah, and that's what is it bad business practices? Like what is going on
Bad
over there?
decision making. Like, did they not
Yeah.
use that money effectively? Like, yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, it is weird because, yeah, this article that we're reading is actually an interview from Video Games Chronicle they did with Inaba, the president,
Mhm.
or sorry, the CEO, and it's kind of weird the way he talks because there was a point where they asked him, was he surprised there weren't more mergers and acquisitions in Japan specifically, and he says, quote, I agree. You don't see that a lot in Japan. And personally, I think it's weird for some of these big companies with all their money. You sometimes think, come on, buy some companies up already. It does feel strange to see Japanese companies being passive all the time. End quote. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, he's like really, I feel like Microsoft, like, got his juices flowing or something when they bought Activision because he's kind of like, I think he's like really eager to get into talks. For an acquisition. That's what it seems like. And if that's the case, like either they're in trouble or he has an ownership stake of some sort, which maybe he does. I don't know. And he's just ready to cash out or something like that. I don't know. It's just this is like a really weird situation, and I don't think the industry would let Platinum die. I think somebody would come in and buy them. I do believe that.
Yeah, no. Platinum is one of those people where they're not on the same level as Nintendo, but you would be fucking stupid to let them die. Like
Yeah.
there will be a huge gap in like yeah, just in like in action games in general if they die because they are those people that made it. But the thing is, they haven't really made a. I mean, they made Astral Chain, but it didn't move waves. Like the problem with Platinum Games is all their games they are really popular, except for Near Automata. But I even say that to the extent because I remember when Near Automata came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years ago. The first year it came out, nobody was talking about Near Automata. Like
True.
nobody.
Had a long
I
tail.
remember that shit. And then once it got multi platinum or once it became multi plat platform, then everyone was like, "Holy shit, have you played this fucking game Near Automata?" And I'm like, "Bro, I've been playing that like 4 or 5 years ago. What are you talking about? Oh, it's the fucking shit, bro!" Like, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad you like it." And then
Yeah.
um, like Metal Gear Revengeance. Now I'm seeing thousands of memes of like they're like, "Holy shit." Senator Armstrong is just like Trump. He said, "Make America great again." He's like, blah, 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 blah. All these fucking Metal Gear Revengeance memes. And it's like, where were y'all at in 2012 when I played this
Mhm.
shit?
Yeah.
Vanquish, the same game. People like YouTube
Oh, yeah.
videos, like, oh man,
That one's
you know,
tragic.
yeah. It's like it's like where were y'all at in like 2009 when that shit came out, and like it was a breath of fresh air out of all the shooters that we were playing in that era.
Even now, I think it's still viewed that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like, and I feel like Astro Chain is going to be one of those games. Astro Chain is going to be like 3 years from now. People are like, "Yo, have you played Astro Chain? Probably one of the most underrated games in the Switch right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, where were y'all at like 3, 4, or 5 years ago when the game came out?" And I think that's what Platinum had. There, maybe it's a combination of like everything, like bad business practices and exposure. Like they don't have the exposure they need. Because I guarantee
Yeah.
you, if they got the exposure they need, um, they would do stuff. And I think it's some kind of beef. Maybe they were blackballed too, because I mean they did end. I remember when Platinum Games came up, um, they Capcom hated them. Like they were like, I remember it was just like super bad blood between them. They never did a game with Capcom ever again. Like none of the creators ever did a game with Capcom.
Yeah.
So maybe Capcom blackballed them for a while, and it's just like it was like a slow thing, and now it's finally taking fruition.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it is funny when you mentioned Nier because yeah, I didn't play it for about 6 months. I think I played it 6 months after it came out, which is funny because I was really excited about it. But that was actually 2017. I think that was a really packed year too. Actually, thinking
Hmm.
back on it, that's when the Switch came out. Horizon, the first Horizon came out that same period of time. Andromeda came out then, so that was a really packed
Hmm.
year. But I remember playing that game and the whole time I was playing it, dude, I was like, I was like blown away. I was like, Platinum made this game. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it because I just like I didn't view them as a studio that could make a game with a story that impactful. And honestly, I mean, a lot of that probably came from Yoko Taro and the Square side, but at the same time, like I'm pretty sure they made most of the game. So I was just pretty shocked by that fact at the time, and I wasn't super familiar with Platinum. I knew who they were. I hadn't played many of their games though, and I really still haven't, actually, to be honest. But at this point, but it's like I didn't view them as a studio that made games like that, like Nier Automata. They were
No,
an
see,
action game studio to me.
I feel like so that's the problem too, right? A lot of people don't know their style. Nier and Yokotaro, the way he thinks, like that's why they're really good with like people who think like that, who make a video game a fucking video game. Like even Kojima, right? He makes video games like a video game, and you're like, this is can only be. It's like a movie video game type situation. Like it's a game within a game within a game, and they do that type of shit.
Right. Well,
When you play
pushing the
Bayonetta,
medium in a new way. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you play Bayonetta, there are certain segments of the game where you're not fighting. You're like flying on like a ship, or it's just like very outrageous shit. And you're like,
Well, there's
this is
like a
game.
whole
This
motorcycle chase sequence in that game, isn't there?
yeah, and
Yeah.
and it's like, and then the way even Bayonetta acts, she came out during a
Mhm.
time too where it was
Mhm.
the Gamergate situation, and it was like they're unapologetically video games. Bayonetta is unapologetically a sexy witch bitch who can beat your fucking ass, and she will call herself a bad bitch while she's beating your ass. Like she, like they design games like that, and then Yoko Taro, he makes games within games within games, and then you got the talent that can make games within a game within a game, and it was just like a really good match. And I'm like, I'm surprised they didn't do this sooner. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, and then, like I said, you got fucking Metal Gear Revengeance, where they had a game and they knew where they wanted to take the direction, but the Metal Gear team and Konami just didn't understand how to make the perfect action game. So they took that game to Platinum, and Platinum was like, "Oh, we know exactly what the fuck to do with this game. Just give it to us. Just give it to us." And they gave it to them, and they're like, "Yeah, we slowed down time where you can make right and cut certain parts off people's bodies and shit like that." That was the main selling point of the game. Um,
I remember that. I remember one of the
yeah,
demos they did. Kojima was like, he was like playing the game, and they did a demo where he just cut like watermelons, and the
yep.
cutting the hit boxes were so precise that like where he cut was exactly where the watermelon split. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and like they perfected that game as far as like action, combat, and everything
Mhm.
like that. Like that game next to like Sekiro, as far as parrying, because there is no block button in that game. All you can do is parry. So it's
Yeah.
like next to like Sekiro, as far as parrying, like that was the golden standard. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, and you know what? To me, they should have been the From Software. They should be where From Software is today. It's just that their games never garnered the attraction.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, who the fuck is Dark Souls? Like when you look at Dark Souls, how did that game get so popular? Is it because of the style was more westernized? Like the actual
I think
style of the
so.
game?
Yes.
You think that's what it
Yes.
was?
I mean, the aesthetic, I think, is part of it. It's very haunting, and I think that gothic style reminds people of Castlevania, and
Mm,
I think that's a big appeal for Dark Souls in a lot of ways. It appeals to that fan base that Konami just like let go at a certain point. Because think about when
wow,
Dark
that's a
Souls
really
came
good
out.
comparison. That's a
Think about
really
when Dark
good.
Souls originally came out. Was like what 2009 or 10, right? The first one.
Yeah,
Um,
2008, I think. Yeah, something
yeah,
like it was some
and
crazy. Yeah,
that is when Castlevania began to go into a dark period. Like that was when we stopped getting 2D Castlevania games at that point, and they started trying to make the 3D ones. They made whatever those two are. I forget what the fuck they're called, but
a
people didn't
son of
like them.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep going.
Circle of the Moon. Is that right?
I forgot, man.
I forget. But they were 3D, like God of War style action games rather than the 2D traditional 2D that they side scrolls they had been. And I think at that point, like they kind of lost the fan base for Castlevania, and they permanently lost it at that point because they haven't made anything since. And I think Dark Souls and Bloodborne and that style of game from gobbled it all up. Like I think that's where those people went, and then it morphed into this thing where it became a badge of honor to beat those games, and that became its own cult following also. Like
Well, as
so
well, that game came out when a lot of other games were like doing that easy mode shit, or
yes.
like,
Yep. Well, yeah,
um,
you like Uncharted was starting to like was at it like the height of its like powers, right? And those games are
yeah,
like fucking hyper easy, like
yeah.
mind-numbingly so at times. And that was when the narrative driven video game was starting to become really
And
really popular, and they were making them as easy as possible so everybody could accept like
I'm
get
I'm
access
curious.
them.
Uh, I think that's when the word casual was like
Mhm.
really fucking popular
Yeah.
before, like right before Dark Souls came out. It was like, oh, you want to casualize the game, casualize the experience and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
I think that was like a marketing buzzword, honestly. That's probably I think that's where it came from. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Whereas the thing with Platinum is that they didn't because From made those games themselves and they own Dark Souls, right? It's their IP. But Platinum's pitfall, I think, was that they just never like they made Bayonetta and they made Vanquish and then they never did anything else with them. And when they do with something like Bayonetta, they sell it to Nintendo, so they don't even own it.
Hmm.
It's like fuck, dude. Like because that was probably a position they were in where they needed money and they wanted a project and they were trying to pitch Bayonetta 2 to some publisher, and Nintendo was probably the only one interested, and they were like this is probably what happened. They were like, "Yeah, we'll fund this game, but we're going to own Bayonetta. Like we want the IP as part of the deal." And Platinum was like, "Okay." And that was probably a mistake. So it's like they don't have anything to call their own, and it's like I think that's really killing them right now. I think it's really really hurting them because From on the other hand is like as strong as they could possibly be because they are reliant on their own IPs. They don't make games for other publishers. Like Sekiro, they did make like they made Bloodborne for Sony, right? And Sony does own Bloodborne, but it really didn't hurt From. It kind of just enhanced them because they already had Dark Souls.
Yeah.
to go back to, and then they have Elden Ring now. And then Sekiro, I think Activision funded, but I don't think they own Sekiro as an IP.
No,
So
I
I
think
think
they just use Sekiro for the publishing.
yes,
Like for
yeah,
the they just
right,
use I'm sorry, they use Activision rather
for
for the
publishing,
publishing, but they
right.
own Sekiro.
Yeah, so I think they own Sekiro, and it's like that. I mean, they're just in a position where they control their own destiny, you know.
Mhm.
And Platinum. This is the power of IP, man. Is that this is where companies like you start to like. This is why people get on Nintendo for never like trying new things and like making new, even though it's probably at this point like not true anymore. But like relying on Mario and Zelda and shit like that. There's a reason they do that though, because that is like a consistent cash flow, you know. There's a
Mhm.
reason companies do that. Like it's guaranteed money. If they make those games, people will buy them. Pokemon, same thing. Um,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you don't have that, every game you make is a humongous risk, you know? And that's where Platinum is, and I think that's finally catching up to them. And that sucks. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for them. I hope they can get out their situation. I just think I can't help but get that one guy. I forgot his name. I think his name is Kayami Kimiya Ki KM Kamiya.
Kamiya?
Kamiya, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish I hope he's not the reason their downfall because he is a very, very strong I don't know if it's like type A. He's a very
Headstrong.
strong personality.
Yeah.
Um and unwavering, which I like, but at the same time that can hinder you in certain instances. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's hindering them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Platinum in general is one of those companies where they don't take no for an answer or they
Mm-hmm.
don't take shit from anybody. But the way the industry is moving, sometimes I'm pretty sure plenty of people have pitched shit to them and they're just like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
You're
And
right.
it's like,
Nobody's
maybe
gonna
you
want to.
should, bro.
Yeah, nobody's gonna want
Yeah.
to work with you after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think they tried that for Activision. They try to do that for those movie licenses and stuff like that. But you
Mm-hmm.
can tell like their heart wasn't in it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Right.
which is understandable. But in the same sense, like, bro, put your heart in it. You could have made like the best fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game or the best Avatar game. People are like, yo, we need Platinum to make another Avatar game. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know, man. I wish them
Well,
the best though.
I wish them the best as well. If they get acquired, we will let you guys know. All right, Montrell, let's move on. Next story we have. This has been hit very hard by Rick Hogue. He we've mentioned him before on this show. He's has a YouTube channel called Virtual Legality. He is a lawyer, a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, so he's kind of in his element with all the shit going on right now. However, he's been hitting something the last week or so very hard that I want to talk about because I think the industry at large didn't really pay attention to it until he started hitting it. And now I'm starting to see all these articles talking about him talking about this issue with Sony and the PS5 upgrade for Horizon Forbidden West. Because if you remember originally, Horizon, Jim Ryan said Horizon was going to have an upgrade. Like you were going to be able to upgrade it from PS4 to PS5 for free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they said you were not going to be able to upgrade it for free. And people got really pissed, rightly so, because Sony had already said you were going to be able to. So Sony came out, Jim Ryan, remember, came out and I think it was a blog post or whatever. And he was like, all right, guys, okay, yes, you will be able to buy Horizon on PS4 and get the upgrade to PS5 for free. But this will be the last fucking time, okay? You won't be able to do this with like God of War and shit like that after that. So you remember that, right? So the
Yeah.
lead up to this game's release has been weird though, because they are really trying very, very, very hard to obfuscate the fact that you can upgrade this game from PS4 to PS5 for free with the PS4 version, because the games are priced differently on the different platforms. The PS5 version is 70, the PS4 version is 60, and there is no difference between the two of them. It's the same game, same content, and you can literally upgrade the PS4 version to the PS5 version. So the upgrade is giving you literally nothing. Paying $70 for this game, you're getting nothing for it. versus paying 60 for it on PS4 and upgrading. So this has been interesting to watch because Hoag's been talking about it from a law perspective. Like he said that Sony might, there's a possibility for a class action here if they don't like clean shit up. Because there was shit on their FAQ that was incorrect, like literally incorrect, because it stated that you would not be able to upgrade Horizon, which you were, and then they changed it like yesterday to actually say how to upgrade, like shit like that. Like they didn't have their ducks in a row here. And then in the game, the console store, you would go to the game and you actually could not buy the PS4 version on the PS5 digital store. Like you literally cannot. It's like not possible. So it's shit like that. Like Sony is trying really hard to make people pay $70 for Horizon Forbidden West, and they're being really underhanded, and it's feeling really ugly for me here. Whereas Microsoft doesn't do this shit. They have smart delivery. It doesn't matter what console you're playing it on. You get the most upgraded version for whatever console it is. That their games are compatible across their devices right now, and they're also not charging $70 for their next gen games either. They're still charging 60. So yeah, it's Sony's looking real bad in this situation, and I kind of hate their ecosystem right now with this. I can't wait till we get away from PS4 where games are coming out on PS4, because I kind of just want to leave this behind. But so everything I just said, Montrell, how does that? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I need Sony to get their shit together, man. It seems like a no brainer as far as this, but this does kind of quantify or not quantify, but kind of verify. Like I think Sony's really trying to go the Apple route with shit and just be like really close to shit. As far as like their games and everything, and I
Mm-hmm.
think this is one example of that. Um, I don't think it's fair to have to buy the game over again. Or like what, a $10 upgrade, because it's free, right? The upgrade is free. They're doing a free upgrade
Yeah,
for
they're just
Horizon Zero Dawn.
obfuscating that fact that the upgrade exists on PS4 because they want people to buy the PS5 version by default.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so
it's very underhanded.
yes, it's sneaky. They're trying to be sneaky.
Yeah,
Because think
I
about it,
don't
if you're
know.
Joe Blow, you don't play video games a lot, but you know Horizon and you're excited for it, right? You're just gonna
Mm,
go when the game comes out. You're gonna go on the PS5 store and just download it for $70, right? Like you're not even gonna think twice about that, because
yeah,
why would you know? You don't follow video game news. Like who cares? You're just like, oh, this cool game's coming out. It's $70. Okay, it's like Sony's like, but if he knew it was 60, like he could get it for 60, he would have bought it for 60. So it's like man, like I don't know. It's a little gross to me.
yeah. I agree. It is a little gross. I don't know, man. Everybody's
Yeah,
just moving. Sony's just moving really weird right now. So
yeah. I mean, they've been doing smart things
they have the
lately, but
ability to do it. You know.
this is just one of those situations that like this is drawing them back into that that like Sony we don't like, where they're like, they're trying to nickel and dime their own customers, and it's like, come on, man, like come on, like dude, come on. I get it.
hmm
You want to maximize profit on this game, but dude, you already said that after this game you're not doing this anymore. So that's fine, but like let it go then. Let this game go. It is what it is, make your money on it. You're going to make a fuck ton of money on it either way, like
Yeah.
so I don't know. Like, why do you have to do it this way? They don't. So is what it is. But all right, Macho, let's move on. We got a couple more stories to get through. Our next story is Nintendo focused. Nintendo has announced this week, which is funny. This comes a week after their direct. They are closing the 3DS and Wii U eShops in 2023, and they have no plans to offer classic content in other ways other than the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service. But this gets worse. The shops may not be closing until 2023, but your ability to use them is going to end much sooner. So on May 23rd, 2022, you will not be able to use a credit card to add funds to an account on the eShops of the Wii U or the 3DS systems.
What?
And then as of August 29th, 2022, you will no longer be able to use a Nintendo eShop card to add funds to an account on either of those family of systems. But you will still be able to redeem download codes of games until March of 2023. So basically, after August 29th, you will not be able to buy games directly on the eShop unless you already had funds on the eShop to buy games with. You will not be able to load new funds. So, yeah, Nintendo says get fucked. Basically.
What is up with Nintendo and why don't they just keep it open?
Well, so okay, Wii U, I get that console's
Yeah,
been dead for 5+ years, and it
totally
was
understandable.
complete failure of a system, right? There's like what 15 million, 20 million out in the world. Like who cares? It's really not that big of a deal. In that case, I mean, it does suck in some ways, but for the people that still have them, but whatever. It's that one I can justify. The 3DS though is completely like unjustifiable to me. This is a system that was still actively getting games from Nintendo like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. It's not that old. And it's a highly successful device. They sold like 80 or 90 million of these, it's one of their more successful pieces of hardware. And um I just like I don't understand why they are so ready to just throw this shit in the trash, because it's like the Wii they shut down in 2019, and that console had been dormant for 7 years from that point. This is only like 3. I don't understand why they're doing this so soon with 3DS, It kind of doesn't make sense. It's weird. I find it really odd. Um
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Like Nintendo's so quick to throw away. See, this is why it's okay to pirate kids because what the fuck,
yeah.
like this is why I don't feel bad when Nintendo's like, "Oh, you guys are pirating my games and stealing from the developers," and it's like, it's not the developers, bro. It's you. It's literally you.
Yeah.
They're. This is why people emulate their shit.
Yeah.
Like they want to stop it, but they can't because they won't leave the shops open. Give us a virtual. I'm not about to say that. Anyway, people are going to get
Yeah.
pissed about this shit, and
Yeah.
um, they have every right to be. I feel like this is very unconsumer friendly.
Well, it's like a short turnaround too. When I first read it, I was like, "Oh, okay, we have a full year to buy shit." And then you start reading the fine print, basically, and it's like, "Oh no, you really realistically have 3 months to buy whatever games you want on the fucking 3DS." It's like, what the fuck? Like, why such a quick turnaround? Like, why are you doing this to people? Like, I don't understand. Like, and the weird part about it is like, it's like we're trying to give you money. Like, we're trying to give you money for games. Like, is the 3DS's eShop already so barren in terms of sales income that it's like not worth keeping around like this? Like, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's not that popular anymore in terms of how much money they're making off of it. But it's like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm 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 frustrated because like there was an article I think VGC did or something like that where they cataloged like there's like a fuck ton of games that are exclusive to both of these consoles digitally that will be literally gone forever. Like you will not be able to play them in any way except for emulation. Like they won't be available anywhere, and that sucks ass, dude. And like Nintendo has basically they're like their preservation model doesn't exist anymore. They don't give a shit about preserving their games at all, which is like it seems insane to me because they have the catalog of games that is most worth preserving, overall. So I don't know, because yeah, now it's like I'm sitting here like looking at my Switch. It's like the Switch is like 5 years old, dude. Like the next console for them is probably coming out in the next couple of years, right? I would imagine. And so what does that mean? Does the Switch only have like 4 or 5 years left of having an active online store? It's like, what the fuck, you know? That seems crazy, but now at this point, I don't think it's that impossible. So, I don't know.
Sorry, I was yawning, but yeah,
Sorry, yeah, good.
I don't know what it is. What's up with Nintendo, man? I don't. we were just praising them last week, and it's like I knew this was gonna happen. I
Yeah, the shoe
knew some
drops.
bullshit was. Yeah, I knew. I'm like, wow, okay, they're doing really good as far as making games. What's what's coming down the pipeline is gonna piss me off with them, and here it is. Um, because now I have to rush out. Because remember, my 3DS broke, so now I got to rush out, find a 2DS. Um,
Mm,
like a 2DS
um,
XL because I don't like the
they
regular
they
2DSs.
actually just posted refurbished ones on Nintendo Store for $99. So
Really? Oh shit! Let me
that might
cop
be
on
it.
that
Yeah,
right
that might
now.
be a way for you to get one on the cheap. I just saw that
Um,
on Twitter earlier. So that's for
yeah.
everybody else
So
out there too, if you need one.
yeah, like that's insane to me though. That I don't even feel like the 3DS is that old. Like
It's
in
actually 11 years old. It actually is kind of old, but
but
it had a really long run. Like it was active for about 8 years, I think. So,
I just don't understand. Like I really want to know the cost to keep the servers open.
well, okay. The one reason I always kind of come back to with why companies do this and why I understand it is the accounting side is that they have to do accounting for every game they sell on the platform and then send money to the companies, that sell these games or that they sell these games
Mm,
digitally for. So if you're only selling 2 copies of a game every month, you're having to send that 2 copies worth of money to fucking random studio A every month. And that's fucking annoying. Like, so I can see it from that perspective where it gets to a point where you're not making enough money to justify the time your people are having to put in, do that accounting. And it literally could be an internal thing where they're like asking for it. Can you please shut these stores down? Like, we're not making that much money off them anymore. Like, so it could be that, but at the same time though, it's just so consumer unfriendly, and I think it's so callous to your own library of games to do this, because dude, like, now there's like this scramble happening already with fucking physical 3DS games. Dude, they're gonna go through the fucking roof suddenly. And I started looking into this because there's certain games that I kind of want that I don't own, and two of them were like Yokai Watch 1 and 2. I got copies of both pretty cheap because I want to do it now rather than waiting. Yokai Watch 3 though is apparently like super fucking rare and is worth like $150. Dude, it's like crazy. Shimigami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked, which is an Atlas game, the tactical RPG I've talked about, the Persona like game. That game's worth like 80 or 90 out there, physical copy, which is it's just fucking nuts. So
mhm.
I'm in a situation now with certain games, which I own Shimigami Tensei, but I don't own Yokai Watch 3, and I want to play them all. And Yokai Watch 3 is not going to come to another platform probably. So I'm like, yeah, I think I need to buy Yokai Watch 3 digitally for $40, like before the store closes, and download it, you know? Cause yeah, it's just super irritating at this point. And I was like actually looking through their library earlier of virtual console stuff too. And there's some stuff in there that I'm like, fuck, dude, I kind of want to buy these and have them because I think the 3DS is the place to have some of these games. I don't want them on Switch or another console. And yeah, it's like shit, dude. Like, so do I just like put some money aside to like buy a bunch of these games in the next couple months? Because yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm not going to be able to anymore. So, and then you were mentioning, I think you said something on Twitter about Fire Emblem, like Fire Emblem Fates, which is it's just funny. As much as like I don't like that game that much, and I don't personally care about this. This is an interesting thing though, is that Birthright and Conquest were both physical, right? And they had a DLC that was literally an entire third version of that game. Um, is a
Oh
$20
shit,
is
you're
a $20
right.
digital DLC that you will not be able to purchase anymore through the store after this happens, like after it closes down like this. So the only way to play Revelations, which is the third path in that game, and it's like a canon path. It's not bullshit. Like, it is a real thing. Real like full game. The only way to play that game will be buying the collector's edition version of the cartridge that came with Conquest, Birthright, and Revelations all on one cartridge, which was $80 originally. and is now going for like $200 to $500 or something like that to
Mhm.
purchase. And I actually personally severely regret my decision to sell that because I own that a while back, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I sold it because yeah, I sold it for like $90 or $100 or something. Now it's worth like fucking 3 times as much. But yeah, it's like, so that's a game that literally a whole game in Fire Emblem, like a major title for Nintendo that is going to be really, really hard to find now. Um, and that does suck as much as I don't personally care that much because I played that game and I never really want to play it again. But yeah, it's like all the DLCs for that game are going to be gone too, and they're actually like some of those were really popular as well for that game. So it's like I don't know, man. It's not the it's not the best situation overall. So Nintendo, you do a bunch of things right, and then you drop the other shoe on us. You know,
Pretty much.
is what it is. But all right, uh, let's move on, Montrell. Our last story of the day is from Microsoft. They released a blog post last week kind of trying to get ahead of regulation and regulators pertaining to the Activision Blizzard acquisition. And a lot of this, I do suggest people go read this. It is called Adapting Ahead of Regulation, a principled approach to app stores. And they a lot of this blog post, like the first half of it, is just them kind of honestly, it's kind of funny. It feels like they were taking shots at Apple pretty heavily in here because they were talking about how their game stores and app stores, they're not going to be locking them down the way Apple does. They didn't call Apple out, but they said a lot of the things that Apple does currently, and they said we're not going to be doing any of this shit. So, but the part that they did say pertaining to Activision Blizzard is specific. So I'm gonna read this quote. So quote, uh, first, some commentators have asked whether we would continue to make popular content like Activision's Call of Duty available on competing platforms like Sony's PlayStation. The obvious concern is that Microsoft could make this title available exclusively on the Xbox console, undermining opportunities for Sony PlayStation users. To be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision, and we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. We are also interested in taking similar steps to support Nintendo's successful platform. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for gamers, and for our business. End quote. So if they couldn't have been more clear about this. Activision games aren't going to be exclusive to Xbox. I think it's pretty clear here. But Montreal, what do you think?
Um, I don't want to sound like an elitist. Oh my god. You know what? Fuck it. I'm tired and I don't fucking care about nobody. Anyway, so you guys have to be out of your fucking minds, in your fucking gaming little bubbles, to think, you Sony fucking ponies, to think that, oh my god, they're gonna make Call of Duty exclusive. It's literally not as lucrative from a business standpoint to make Call of Duty exclusive. Literally, you will be missing out on so much money because let's be honest, PS4 or PlayStation in general has a bigger install base than fucking
Mm-hmm.
Xbox,
Right.
and that won't force people to go over to Xbox. It won't. Like, I
Right.
don't care who you are. It may force maybe 25% of the user base to go over to Xbox and buy an Xbox or whatever, but the ends doesn't justify the means at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm.
So for them to have to put out this statement, I think is so fucking stupid. I mean, that part of the statement rather. Everything else, I read it, it's
Yeah.
okay, and they were taking shots at, like, Apple and shit like that. But um I think that part of it was so fucking stupid. Like, there was literally no need to say that, in my opinion, because Like, this is the part where it's like, yo, these console wars are literally existing in y'all's head. Like it does.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
they want money at the end of the day. That's the same thing. If Sony literally owns fucking the show, right? And they have the show on Xbox and on it's the Switch. And I think it's on PC too. No, I don't think it's on PC
Um,
yet.
I don't think it's on PC yet.
Yeah, it's not on PC yet. But from a business standpoint, y'all, it makes sense. It's a MLB franchise. It's the best MLB game to date. To be honest with you, it's probably I think it's the only one. But even when there were other MLB games, I don't remember people talking about MLB games to the degree of they talk about the show. Like it is the standard,
Right.
you know. So
Right.
anyway, they're making hella money off that game because they're going multi-plat. So it just makes sense. Like, why would you stop that money incoming? Like, why would you
Mm,
stop that income from coming in?
hmm.
It's just mind boggling how
Yeah.
how these console wars, people live in this online bubble, or not even online. It's this gamer bubble that we can't look at the bigger picture of some certain shit. And I mean, me and you do it too sometime, but it's like I think since we've been doing this podcast and we're looking at news, we've been looking at the flow of the industry and everything like that. It just
Hmm.
like I'm not even on like the whole Sony train or Xbox train or Nintendo train. I'm just like, yo, I just want fucking good games. And these motherfuckers, they just want to make money, good
Right.
money.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like this was such a waste of time for Xbox to have to explain to people like, oh, we're just still going to have it on PlayStation, guys. Don't worry. So
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both agreed that this was probably the what they were going to take. I think the thing is, people were pointing to the Bethesda deal and what they're doing there, where they are making games exclusive, and they're pointing to that like they were pointing to that like, oh well, they did it here, they're going to do it here. But the thing is, 7 billion, 7.5 billion, and 68 billion are not the same.
Yes.
Those aren't the same investments. So
Like,
like
are you
different
guys
things.
comparing Fallout to Call of Duty? Like, I
Right, I
love
know, it's like
Fallout,
a
but come
fucking
on,
joke,
man.
like, come on,
Yeah.
dude, like, yeah, it's ridiculous, like, hilarious. Yeah, Fallout comes out once every fucking, like, 7 years, or 8 years, or fucking in this case, the next one's probably not gonna come out for 10 years between games. So it's like, I think people were pointing to those too in thinking that was what they were gonna do this time, but I think the thing is, I think what this proves is that I think we can't really take these deals and use history as an indicator anymore with what Microsoft's going to do. I think every deal with them going forward, and even Sony, is really going to be case by case. Like we're seeing the same thing
Hmm.
with Bungie, right? Like, because I think even I think a few years ago we all agreed like if Sony made an acquisition like Bethesda, they absolutely would have made it exclusive. But they've shown already that they've done it. They're making an acquisition, which Bungie and Bethesda are not the same, but they make an acquisition though, and they're not making it exclusive. That wasn't why they bought it. Like they're
Yeah,
doing it for
exactly.
other reasons. So like businesses are businesses, man. They want to make money. Like that's what they're trying to do. Sony's not. Sony and Microsoft are the same in that way. So I think at this point, the next acquisition, like there's no rhyme or reason to this. Like it could be exclusive, it could not be exclusive. It's just going to be case by case, I think, with each one of these. So now that doesn't mean that Activision Blizzard will never make an exclusive game for Xbox. I think that absolutely will happen at some point, but it just means that the existing stuff that they bought that's coming out, like Diablo, probably not going to be exclusive. Overwatch, probably not going to be exclusive. Like all these games probably aren't going to be exclusive. And the thing is, for Microsoft's strategy of Game Pass, they don't need to make them exclusive anyways. Who cares? Like, dude, what's enticing is like putting it on both consoles and saying on mine, you pay me $10 a month and you get all this shit included in that $10 a month. Whereas with Sony, it's like you go on their platform and you have to pay $70 for that one, $70 for that one, $70 for that one, $70 for that one, $10 a month, and you get all of those, you know, with us.
Hmm.
So I think that's an appealing strategy, and I think it's a strategy that is frankly probably going to work for them in the long term. So like there's a reason Sony's developing their own subscription service. So it's I don't think it's necessary to make these games exclusive to hurt Sony anyways. So it's like I don't know. This whole thing's been annoying. I'm sick of these fucking conversations. I hate console warriors. They're the dumbest people on the planet. I don't understand why a plastic box engenders so much passion in you. Go get a job that you're passionate about to this degree, okay? Go make something of yourself with the passion that you espouse over your black Xbox console or your fucking white PS5, okay? Who cares? That thing sits on a shelf and does nothing. It doesn't interact with you. It does nothing, okay? You play video games on it. It's just a box. Who cares? Shut up. Stop caring so much about corporation success. Like, I don't understand it. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think one day, when we're like really low on news, I mean, because we're already 2 hours over this one, but like we should have a really in-depth conversation on how toxic console wars are, and even
Yeah.
our run-ins with it. You know, me and you, like we both have been on both sides of the spectrum before, so it's
Mhm.
like to see it now though. It's very jarring because I do see it from a couple of my followers like, oh, you got an Xbox, and it's like, I guess, I mean, yeah, that person has an Xbox because they prefer the Xbox console over the
Yeah.
PS5. It's like, oh, you're not playing the exclusives, and it's like, what if the exclusives don't appeal? Like some people don't want to play fucking Ratchet and Clank, like they don't want to play that furry shit. Some
Right.
people don't want to
Or
play fucking
Eternal or Uncharted. Like,
yeah. Some people don't want to play that shit, bro.
yeah,
Like,
man. Not every
and then
game
it's
appeals to everybody.
yeah, and then for some people, a controller really makes a big difference for some people. Like for me, I still prefer the Xbox controller over the PlayStation controller, like
Mhm.
miles ahead of it. But I play the PlayStation because it has the better games. But if those games were available on Xbox, like if Seafood was on Xbox, I'll buy it on fucking Xbox. I bought Sekiro on Xbox because I love the controller way more than the PS4 or the
Mhm.
PS5.
Yeah,
I
and
just
I'm
I
I'm
can't.
like I'm the opposite, right? Like
Yeah.
I like Sony's controller. I like the DualSense. I think it's a great controller. And
Mhm.
I don't hate Xbox's controller. I think it's a good controller too. I'm so used to Sony's though that in the button layout on Sony's console that I'd rather play it on there because dude, that's like such a huge thing when you're switching between consoles is the button layout is different, right?
Mhm.
Like circle on a Sony console is the A button on Xbox, I believe. So and Nintendo. So you
No,
use
it's the
that to
B button
confirm.
on Xbox.
You use that to confirm
Yeah.
things on those two consoles. Whereas on Sony, the circle button is actually the back button. Generally, you confirm with X on Sony. So it's like it's not huge, but it's muscle memory kind of thing. You have to get used to it when you're switching over. So
Yeah.
there's stuff like that. It's just I don't know. It's stupid. The whole thing
Yeah.
is dumb. I own all the consoles. I have a Switch, I have an Xbox Series X, I have a PS5, and I have a PC. I like all of them. Like,
We are the superior master race because I'm the same
yeah, that's right. Yeah, fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. Yeah, we are the
way.
master race. You know, all consoles, baby. Console agnosticism. We will spread the gospel here on the Players Take. Come, my children, come. Yes, yes, bring your Xboxes, bring your Nintendo Switches, bring your PS5s, and yes, PC Master Race boys. Yes, bring your giant PC towers
I will
that you
say
can't lift.
being a Nintendo Switch only player is insanely wild because
Yeah,
what the fuck?
let it. Who are those people? There's no way they exist, man. They got to be like a dad who doesn't play video games, you know, except for like Mario with his kids or something.
I
Like,
I honestly think that's the worst combo. But I mean, like the PC Switch combo, like
mhm.
that's what I see a lot. They're like, "Oh, I got a Switch and I got a PC. That's all I need." I'm like, I guess,
I
man.
think 90% of gamers have either an Xbox or a PS5 and then they have a Switch. Like that
Yeah,
I think that's the large majority of the industry. And then
yeah,
I
that
think there's a
PC.
crowd that's PC master race that has a console that they never play probably.
Yeah, I think that console is the Switch. Like
Mhm.
if you go on like PC gaming boards, like that console is the Switch.
Yeah.
They love the Switch. It's
Which is
insane how
funny,
much they love the Switch.
which is funny because it's the shittiest like it plays games like shit. So, yeah. All right, Montrell. We got one more thing to cover today, and then we are out of here. So we got a question from Dat Dude today, and here's his question: hypothetically speaking, Capcom, Platinum Games, Sega, Square Enix, and Konami are all on the verge of closing down, and they can only be saved through acquisition. Which of the big three game companies do you think will fit each of these companies best? So let's go through them, Montrell. Let's start with Capcom. Who do you think would be the best fit for Capcom to
Sony.
buy?
Oh,
I think Nintendo.
I was about to say that. Yeah, it's between Sony and Nintendo.
I mean,
More so
the only
Nintendo.
reason I think Sony is because of the fighting games. Um, like fighting games have become like Sony is the platform for those, and
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason they fit there. However, Capcom's legacy with Nintendo and also just their current relationship with Nintendo, I think, is pretty strong. So I don't know. I'd
Yeah,
go.
you're
I think
right.
I'm gonna go
I think
Sony though. I think the fighting game thing is too strong.
yeah. That's only one franchise though, but you're right. That fighting game. I think Nintendo will allow them to make fighting games for other consoles.
What
If that
about
makes any sense.
Devil May Cry though too? Right?
Yeah, you're right. I can't play
Is that
Devil May Cry on the
yeah?
Switch.
That's not on Nintendo either. So
They do have Devil May Cry 3 on the Switch, and they have the best version of Devil May Cry 3 because you can switch four
ooh.
styles for Dante.
Mhm.
But whereas the other modes, the other ones are like two styles. But yeah, I can't see myself playing Devil May Cry on the Switch unless I'm playing it on the actual Pro controller. I can't
Could
play
it
on that
even
fucking shitty.
handle Devil May Cry? I don't think so.
It can handle Devil May Cry 3. I mean
Yeah,
that's a PS2 game
it's a
though, but
PS2 game. Yeah, I mean like Devil May Cry 5, dude.
no, I can't handle
There's
that
no
shit. I
way.
mean, unless they do like a stylized approach, they have
Yeah,
to like change the style up a
which
little
that would
bit.
suck, wouldn't it?
Uh, I wouldn't mind.
Let's just give him to Sony. I think that's best.
Yeah, I give him to Sony.
All right, Platinum. So my answer to this is I don't want any of the big three to buy Platinum. I think they would fit best with Square or Capcom.
That's they would never go to Capcom Square.
I know Square is it. Yeah, I think Square is it.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose though, if you put a gun to my head and said choose, I would still go with Sony. I think Sony will allow them the freedom to do what they want.
They
Mm,
would. Yeah, but like,
yeah,
what would they do though? I think they have a better relationship with Nintendo, dude.
I still feel like Nintendo. I I feel like Nintendo will be restrictive on like if they want to do mature games.
Yeah, they are. Do you notice when they showed Bayonetta 3, it's a lot less sexual? Like,
Yep.
it's like a lot. It was like a really overt for me. I was like, huh, they really like toned this down, huh? And it's kind of sucky. Like, I was like, it doesn't feel right.
It's one of those games where the fan service does serve the purpose of the game because
Yeah,
that's who the character is,
it
and it's
is.
not in like
Yeah,
a
right.
sleazy way. It's like an almost an empowering way how
Mhm,
she is. So it's
right.
like it
She
is her
owns it.
character.
She owns it.
Yeah,
She owns
yeah,
it. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So,
All right, Sega.
uh,
Sega.
oh my god, everyone's gonna
Nintendo.
say
I think it's Nintendo.
Nintendo. Everyone's gonna say Microsoft though.
You think so?
I think I think if Microsoft got Sega, they would have a really good foothold in Japan.
I mean, Sega is the only one of these that I could see Microsoft buying and it being even mildly acceptable. Like, I think any of these, though, if Microsoft bought them, would be people would be upset,
Yeah.
and I think the industry would be upset too. Actually,
I just can't see Sega doing it. I see they have a huge catalog too. Um, the thing is, right? The reason I don't want them to go Sega, I mean, I'm sorry. The reason I don't want them to go to Nintendo is because they would probably stop them from releasing like their fucking arcade classic games and all their other classic games because
I don't
Nintendo is
think
just like
so. Nintendo does that now. They put them on the fucking Switch Online service, dude. I think they've totally like
exactly.
absorbed Sega's like back catalog is theirs almost. It feels like it's
I mean,
I
I think their back catalog would be really good on the Game Pass instead of Switch Online.
mm, I would be a nice get for Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only issue with Sega going to Microsoft is like, dude, they own Atlas, man, and I
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot they own them. Holy
dude, like,
shit.
bro, I can't let Persona and Shimigami Tensei go to Microsoft. Like,
I will say
mm,
Microsoft might be willing to let that go to other consoles.
you think they? I mean, okay, I think theoretically, we talked about this with like if they acquired Square, like they would almost have to allow those games to be released on other consoles because they literally would have no audience on Xbox. Like they would just
Yeah,
kill them. Like the franchises would die, you know?
yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, people didn't play Vesperia as much as I loved it. I played it on the 360. They didn't play it until it came to PS3.
Yeah.
Same thing with Internal Sonata. I love that game. I think that was a really cool
Man,
game.
I want to play that game. I wish
And
they'd
a lot of people
re-release it.
did play it until it came to PS3.
Who made that?
Um,
Was that Namco? I don't remember.
no, that was. I think that was. Yeah, that was Namco actually.
Was it
Yeah,
Namco? Yeah, I wish they
yeah,
would re-release that game because, dude, it's impossible to play. Um, you have to buy like a PS3 version, which is like really expensive. I think.
yeah.
I was looking for it on Game Pass because it's an Xbox game and they don't have it. It's like they don't have it in the retro selection, and I'm like, damn it, man, fuck! I really wanted to play it like a few months ago. Okay, Square Enix. I mean, this one's easy.
Yeah,
Well,
PlayStation.
I think it's PlayStation, but I will say Nintendo gets an honorable mention here because
Yes.
they have maintained a very strong relationship with Square. With like Triangle Strategy, Octopath Traveler, they've definitely gotten some games. Bravely Default.
Yeah,
Um,
because they know their audience.
yeah,
I know. Yeah,
Front
you know
Mission.
what we say PlayStation, but maybe Nintendo is the best option for them. They
I
won't be
think the
able to do any
problem
high budget games though.
yeah,
Like,
that's the problem is what I was going to say with the PlayStation. The reason I say PlayStation is that Final Fantasy is a PlayStation franchise. Kingdom Hearts is a PlayStation franchise. Those are the big boys for Square, you know? Like and
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're more important than the little stuff that Nintendo gets. So it's kind of why I go to Sony. I also think Sony would let them do whatever the fuck they want, to be
oh
honest.
yeah, 100%.
I think they would still let them do stuff with Nintendo. I don't think they
Well,
would.
you know what? We're thinking about it from an Eastern standpoint. They also have a lot of Western franchises too: Tomb Raider, Hitman,
Oh yeah, they have
Deus
Crystal. Yeah,
Ex.
Deus Ex, Eidos. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
That's true. Well, they don't own Hitman anymore. They let that go to.
Oh, that's right.
They
That's
let
right. That's
IO
right.
take that when they left,
Okay.
which was really weird. I don't know why they did that, but they did IO a solid, I guess.
Yep.
um, um, yeah, I still think it's PlayStation. That'd be the one I'd be most comfortable with. I think that would maintain. I think the closest to what the status quo is with them.
hmm
So that one would be
And
fine.
they'll still have a huge install base that will still play Triangle Strategy if it was to come to PlayStation or
Yeah.
Final Fantasy
Well, I
Tactics
think
and
that
shit
would be
like
the
that.
benefit of Sony getting it is that I would get those games on PlayStation, like
hmm
Octopath and shit, because they've never come to PlayStation, which is the weirdest shit because Octopath Traveler came to PC and Xbox and is still not on PlayStation. I don't understand
Really?
that. That makes no sense. None. No, that is true. That is a true thing, dude. Like, go look that up. That is, and it's insane. It makes no sense. Like,
Wow.
Sony is the platform other than Nintendo that it makes the most sense to put that game on. But somebody somewhere wrote into a contract that they couldn't do it. I guarantee it. Like, so I don't know. Weird. Okay, Konami.
I don't, hell.
This one. This one. Fuck Konami. Nobody buys Konami. They just buy Castlevania, Metal Gear, and Silent Hill. Sony does. Fuck Konami. Who cares about Konami?
Yeah, they're this is funny because they started out on Nintendo products, but they're
Mhm.
Sony. I think they'll fit more in Sony. Yeah. But yeah, fuck Konami and their pachinko machines.
Yeah, fuck them. Okay. One he didn't mention here that we did mention was Namco. This would never happen, but Namco Bandai.
I- PlayStation.
Yeah, I think so. That's
Yeah.
where all their games come out, right? It's got to be
Yeah.
PlayStation
They rarely make games for the Switch. Rarely.
and Xbox. They never release anything on Xbox.
I mean, they do. They do
Actually,
multi-plat
yeah, they
games.
do. I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jump Force was
That's
on
what
Xbox.
Jump Force,
What a
Code
get! What
Vein,
a get
Scarlet
for
Nexus.
Xbox, man! Jump Force, you know.
Scarlet Nexus was on Xbox.
Tails.
Yeah, they release games on there. I mean, the Vesperia games.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the Tales games. Some of the Tales games were on Xbox as well.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they do release
Wasn't
them.
Tales of Arise on there?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. Vesperia was an exclusive for a minute, and then it went to PlayStation.
Well, in the
A
U.S.
long time.
It was an exclusive until they did the re-release.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
And that's my point too. To be honest with you, I think Tales games are incredibly, or not Tales games, but if you had to go bar for bar as far as RPGs, they would have a huge. Nintendo would be like, "Why do we need you? We have Monolith off.
Mm,
Why do we need you? We have intellect. What's her name? Intellectual systems,
intelligent systems. Yeah.
intelligent systems. Why would you? Why would we need you? We would just fire you
But
and just take
we
your
can make
IPs.
shitty Naruto games for you.
Nah, we don't need that.
We can make a
You can make her.
Pokemon brawler with the engine from Naruto.
You already got that with Pokemon.
Fuck.
Why do we need you?
Just
We don't need
just
you.
shut Namco down. Just shut him down.
Yeah, we don't need you. Go to PlayStation. We don't need you because if we get you, we're just going to take your IPs and then just fire everybody because you
Yeah.
guys aren't
I
talented.
would love,
So,
as horrible as that is, it would be pretty wild to watch a company do that, to like buy another company and then shut the company down and literally just do it for the IP.
I feel so bad for the talented developers that are on Namco.
Mm,
Uh,
I know,
I
man.
feel like Scarlet Nexus. It's so
Go work for
fucking
somebody.
weird.
Go work for somebody else, man. Like,
It's so fucking weird that Scarlet Nexus is not like popular.
yeah.
I just. But Tales of Arise is.
Do you think I would like Scarlet Nexus?
Yes.
Is it better than
Well,
Tales of Arise? Or are
no, I
they
don't think you'll like
different
Scarlet Nexus.
games?
They're different. This is an action game.
I mean,
It poses itself like a
I like
fucking,
action games, Montrell.
but it poses itself like an RPG, but it's actually not that deep. It's not that deep. But you will
Okay,
also
but
have to
hold on. Like, I know I talk about depth in my RPGs a lot. It's not 100% a requirement. Like,
the only reason I think you wouldn't like it is because they reuse a lot of stuff.
okay,
Like it's a story action game first. Like you go back to some of the same areas a lot of the time. You
backtracking.
know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
you have
tough.
like maybe 10 different areas that they cycle through, and
Yeah,
that's about it.
maybe I'll pick it up with like $10 someday.
Yeah, it's a game designed for replayability, and that's what they designed it for.
Oh,
Um,
that's bad for me.
yeah. So
I don't replay games. That never happens.
yeah, it's designed for people who like Devil May Cry and shit like that. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Any other
like
Japanese publishers that we can think of that?
Suda 51, I think.
I know the name. Who? What do they make?
Killer 7. They made the Travis No More Heroes games.
Oh, okay. They're Nintendo, dude.
Oh yeah, they are Nintendo, aren't they? Yeah,
Yeah,
are they
that's
owned by
totally
Nintendo?
Nintendo. I don't think they're owned, but they have every game they've made has been Nintendo exclusive. So for a long time, um, from that would be PlayStation, easy.
I just don't think From will allow themselves to be
No,
in that
from's
predicament.
no. I know we're talking a hypothetical though. They like don't have a
Hypothetically, yeah.
choice. You know.
Yeah, PlayStation for sure,
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, From's not going to get bought. There's no way.
You're too much in a good position to even. I don't know. Maybe Atlas like separates themselves from Sega and then
Oh,
just go straight to PlayStation.
please go. Yeah, go to PlayStation, man. Oh my god.
What's Kojima's studio name? Even though he's
Kojima,
independent, he's going to
Productions,
PlayStation.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
He's not owned though. He isn't owned by PlayStation.
Yeah, I'll say he'll just go to PlayStation like off rip.
Yeah. Who else? Are there any other Japanese devs we're not thinking of? I'm sure there are. I just don't know. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head right now.
What if Nintendo was like, all right, Game Freak, like, get the fuck out. These.
I mean, Game Freak would just release their own console, and Pokemon. Pokemon is the only game released on it, and everybody would buy it.
Do they own game? I mean, do they own Pokemon, or does
So
Nintendo own Pokemon?
I read this the other day. I don't know how true this is, but somebody said that a Nintendo co-owns. No, sorry. Nintendo owns 33% of the Pokemon company. So they don't actually own a majority stake in Pokemon.
That's interesting. So
So Game
Pokemon can
Freak
literally do
could,
whatever the fuck they want,
yeah, Game Freak in theory maybe could tell Nintendo to go fuck off, but I don't think they ever would, obviously.
but they could.
But I don't know. Maybe they could. It depends. There could be some weird language, like they could have contracts and shit that we don't know about, like, obviously.
Yeah, they
That,
could do those like where they own the rights to the media or
because
like
they probably
TV
get
and
funding from Nintendo. So in order to facilitate that, there is a contract. So
it could be like, well, we own all the rights for physical products as far as toys and digital and cards
hmm
and
hmm
movies and stuff like that, whereas you guys own the video game rights exclusively.
yeah, right. Something like that, or yeah, any funding deals they make could have contract stipulations where yeah, it's only on Nintendo platforms, stuff like that. They also, so yeah, what I the other thing I learned is that they co-own Fire Emblem with Intelligent Systems, so they don't outright own it, like they own it 50-50 with Intelligent Systems. And then HAL Laboratories, the company that makes the Kirby games, they co-own Kirby with them as well, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
So they don't 100% own Kirby either.
Well, it's funny how Laboratories was the ones that made Smash Brothers
Yep, and Mario Party, I think. Oh, and the Bomberman games.
and the Bomberman games. Yeah,
Some of the Bomberman games, the good Bomberman games. They made the good one, the most of the good ones.
that's
On
funny.
like N64. Yeah, Hell Laboratories, man, they're good. I like them. They're a good studio.
Yeah, but that's weird. Maybe that's why Nintendo decided to go in house. Because you remember they had that weird deal with like Namco to
Mm-hmm.
make Super Smash Brothers
Yes.
4 or the newest
No,
one.
Namco's made the last two. I think they made the 3DS Wii U one, and then they
Hmm.
made Ultimate as well.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So
But Sakurai was still the producer of all of them, right? He was
correct.
still
This
like
was
the
like a
director.
Yoko Taro situation. Like
Okay.
Sakurai works for, I believe, works for Nintendo and is like the director, producer, executive producer of the game. So
Okay.
all game decisions go through him, right?
Man, do you ever wonder what went through his head when he made Smash Brothers? He's just like, yo, I got this idea. Everybody start fighting.
Man,
And
dude,
they're like,
he's a genius, man. Like, it's one of the most genius creations in video game history. A Nintendo fighting game where Nintendo characters fight each other, but it's not like a normal fighting game,
exactly.
Like it's its own thing, Like I don't, man, Smash is so good. It's got weird platformy elements and shit. Dude, man, I wish I still had the passion for Smash that I used to. It's just like,
What I would be to go back in time and be a fly in the room when he's like discussing it,
yeah,
obviously being
like
translated.
first
But
pitching it
like,
to somebody.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
first time he pitches it, I almost want to go through. Man, that would be a great book, dude. Like going through his design process in his head before he ever approaches anybody about it. He's like, man, it'd be a good idea, like Pikachu fighting Link, fighting fucking Captain Falcon, dude, fighting Mario. Like that actually could be really fun. And he like comes up with this whole game concept in his head, and then he finally approaches somebody at Nintendo with it, and then pitches the game, and then they're like, okay,
Fuck it.
prototype it, let's go, you know, show us what it would be, and then they showed him, and they're like, damn, this is fucking fun, bro.
Wait, so how Laboratory made? Did they make Melee?
Yes, I think they still make
That's why
Melee.
that game's so fucking good.
I don't know why. I don't know who made Brawl. I think it might have been a Nintendo internal team,
Okay.
but I don't know that for sure. But Brawl is objectively the shittiest game. So
Man, people will crucify you for that. People love Brawl.
what about Brawl does anybody like? The Subspace Emissary. Bro, get fucked. That is a bloated 30-hour cutscene. Like, it's stupid. Like, I think it is appealing in some weird way, but that game sucks dick, okay? Like, it's mechanically worse than a game that came out 6 years prior to it. Like, come on, get out of here. The only reason it was ever preferred over Melee is because it has a bigger roster and more stages. That's it. That's the only reason any of you ever liked it. Like, the game sucks.
I said that. I got crucified online.
Man,
People are like, "You're wrong."
these
Like, what are you
people are
talking about?
so in their feelings, dude. Like, get
They-
over it. Your game sucks, okay? Like, get over it, dude. Like,
yeah, I said Brawl sucks. I was like, Brawl is a really bad game. People are like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's better than
Montrell.
Melee." I'm like, "All right, man. You know what? This is where I'm exiting the conversation because you're
All right,
not going to
man.
do
You can
this to
have your
me."
bad opinions. See you later. No, dude, I
Oh, you
saw
know what? You
something.
know what they said? You know what they
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
I gave my tier list and I put 64 ahead of Brawl, and they were crucifying me for that.
Absolutely, I had a brawl. Are you kidding me? There's no like, dude. 64 is fun, man. Like, that game is good. Like, I know it feels bad probably now compared to more modern like Smash games, but dude, if you put that in front of somebody who didn't know any better, like, I think that is a legitimately fun game. Like, people would still enjoy it playing it. So,
Bro, yeah, no, 64 is the shit, bro. And it's
um,
not just nostalgia. That shit's legitimately fucking fun.
yeah, dude. So I don't want to get in. I don't know. This is dangerous. I don't want to get into Final Fantasy 15 stuff, but I saw a tweet earlier that somebody said, they were like, dude, this was like somebody in their feelings. Clearly, somebody had triggered them because they said something along the lines of like Final Fantasy 15 is a fucking great game, and there's no facts any of you motherfuckers can bring to me to disprove that, to convince me otherwise. It's a great fucking game. I don't give a shit about the fact. I don't care about anything that they've ever done to it, that it was not complete at launch or anything like that. He literally said, I don't care about facts. This game is objectively amazing. Like, and I'm like, okay. I didn't engage, but I was like, man, dude, like, some people are just so like unreasonable. It's like, dude, like Final Fantasy 15 launched in an unacceptable state. That is not an unreasonable statement. Maybe it's good now. I don't know. It's like,
I mean, like I said, bro, the Royal Edition is free. You literally have nothing to lose.
yeah, I know, but this has always been my argument with that game is like it wasn't always free. Like the Royal Edition wasn't always free, and the DLC wasn't always free. Like they literally charge people for a game that is maybe good with all the DLC. Like they charge extra money for that. It's like I don't know. Like, am I
No,
crazy? Am I crazy for saying that? Like,
I totally agree with you. I think
yeah,
I people don't like it for other reasons. I think the combat's bad in the game.
it's
Like, okay,
terrible.
the Royal Edition kind of fixed a little bit of it,
Does it?
but
Okay. Do
I
you
think
hold
the
two
combat
buttons instead of one to attack things?
no, that's still there. That's still
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, DJ's gonna go off, dude.
um, I don't know. I just think the game was designed terribly. Like
Mhm.
it was a really weird designed game. I didn't
Yeah.
like the open world aspect of it. And you know what? I think that was the downfall. That was the start of my hate for open world games. That game. I played it and I'm like, you know what? Some games you just don't need to go fucking
That
open
was a
world. And you're
bad open world game, dude.
and you're one of them. You do
Yeah,
not need to go open
that
world.
was a bad open world game, definitely. I think Breath of the Wild is the game that killed open world for me though, because everybody's love of that game has, I think, ruined video games for the rest of us. Like, because now everybody's chasing that game, when they're designing their games. Because I see the shadow of Breath of the Wild in Pokemon Legends, like every time I play it, and I'm like, oh.
But the
As
thing
much
is,
as I
bro,
like this game, it's just like,
the thing is, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, when I play Breath of the Wild, I don't see anything but Xenoblade.
Yeah, which is funny because the world is designed by the Xenoblade team, or part of it is. They like helped. They like
Yeah,
assisted in designing it.
I can
So
definitely tell. They're like, listen, you motherfuckers don't know what you're doing. Let me get in here real quick.
no, they're really good, dude. Like this is what Xenoblade. I think people who probably don't get the series or don't like it, like don't get about it. Like the reason Xenoblade is I'm such a fanboy for it is it's like not only is the story generally speaking like really good in all these games, well, X, sorry, X notwithstanding, that game has a really bad story, but like like not only the story's generally good, the combat's usually very engaging and fun, and the RPG mechanics are good and like all there, dude. Like the thing that makes Xenoblade though is the worlds that they build. Like exploring in Xenoblade is more fun than any exploring in almost any other game I've ever played in my life. Like they know how to make a world interesting to run around in. Like they just do. They just
Well,
get
it's
it.
also dangerous as fuck, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, well that's why I think that's why I really enjoy their this is why Breath of the Wild doesn't work for me, whereas Xenoblade does, is that you can tell where Nintendo comes in with Breath of the Wild, where like Breath of the Wild's world is really not that dangerous. Like it's like there are points of it that yeah, sure, you run by a guardian that'll fucking one shot you, but it's like I mean you can just run away from it. It's like I don't like generally speaking, like Xenoblade, I feel like they make really interesting land masses that have really cool landmarks that are really fun to like get to and explore and then go inside and like it's very rewarding game as well. Like exploring is rewarded. You are literally given experience and skill points and all sorts of shit and like money for just running around and finding locations. Like that feels good, you know? Whereas in Zelda, you don't get any of that stuff. Like exploring in Zelda is it's only rewarding if you find something that's specifically useful for you, you know,
Yeah.
in that game, which is where I think that's where the game falls off for me is that there's a point you get to in the game where majority of the things you find are no longer exciting to find because you don't need them anymore. And that's when exploration becomes not fun in an open world game is when you hit that threshold. And that never happens in a Xenoblade game. Like never happens in a Xenoblade game. You never get to a point where exploring sucks because you are always getting shit that's useful to you in the game, you know? At the very
Yeah.
least, you are getting experience and skill points and shit, which you always need, you know? So it's like that like design is so genius. Which it seems so simple, right? Like you like it's such a simple thing, but dude, most games just don't do that shit. You don't get anything for exploring in most games. You don't like just running around and like opening the map up. Like you get nothing beyond the fact that you've actually opened the map up. Like Xenoblade gives you extra on top of that, you know? And it's like a cherry on
Yeah.
top that really makes it though. It really fixed it, like it makes the whole thing work, you know? It's like so I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. Like that kind of makes me realize like why I don't like Zelda that much, like Breath of the Wild that much, because finding one of the little seeds, what are the Korok seeds or whatever, like that's not exciting. There's fucking 999 of them. Like finding one of them is not fun. Like you get to a point where you need like 50 to get in a fucking inventory upgrade, and you're like, I don't want to find 50 of these things. I didn't want to find 20 of them. Eh like I don't know, like it's just like annoying, like it's like annoying shit like that. And then you like run around and you find a chest and it has 20 rupees in it. Oh, okay, awesome. I could have cut some grass and gotten 20 rupees, like, you know. Or you'll like do this like huge combat encounter that has like a fucking like Lionel or some shit, and you'll get a chest and it has like, you know, I don't know, like a fucking like
Has
a
like a
shield, a
heart in it or
shield in
something
it that
like
you
that.
already have, you know. It's like great, fun, I'm having fun, you know. It's like yeah, I don't know. I mean, open world games aren't all about the reward structure. They don't they shouldn't necessarily be, but I think Zelda particularly does a bad job of rewarding their players for doing things. Like that's my problem, I guess, with it.
Yeah. I don't know. Man, this is one of our longer episodes. Holy shit. We haven't did
Yeah,
this shit
we're
in a
we're
while.
like rambling at this point, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to go. We need to go. I think we're just gonna keep
Yeah.
going if
Just
we don't
hit the
stop.
hit the hit the rigmarole right here.
All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's been a while since we've given you guys one of these. We were trying to end this in an hour 15. Montreal, we failed spectacularly at that. hopefully you guys enjoyed that fact. So if you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, subscribe to the show, whatever feed you are listening to it on, and please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to playerstake01 at gmail.com. All right, Montrell, that's it for us. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.